You can sit on that bench as long as you want. Whenever you're ready, you just walk through.
I love you, Janet.
I love you too, Jason.
I hope you have a nice rest of eternity. I made you something. Ah, Dip, I lost it.
It's okay.
No, it's not. I made you this cool thing so you remember me, even when you're married to Aquaman. And I lost it somewhere in this forest. Some magical squirrel probably ate it.
Jason, it's okay. I'm never gonna forget you. In fact, to me, you won't even really be gone. I don't experience time the same way you do. I kind of live all times at once.
I know what you mean. Once I smoked salvia and saw the past and the future at the same time. Then I tried to brush my teeth with my cat.
To me, remembering moments with you is the same as living in them.
Could you just remember the happy times and forget the bad stuff?
There was no bad stuff. It was all good.
It is so important before we riff, before we catch up, before we shout out our patrons, which I forgot to pull up, so I'm going to do that too. It is so important that we begin by mentioning that right now, if you're listening out there, you can vote for what our next podcast should be right now, today, right
now.
At this second. I think it's very important. We really want you to go vote. Steven, tell the people, what are the 4 options?
Well, everyone at home, if you've been living under a rock for the last several months, then you've missed our 4 options. The first option that you can check out on wherever you're listening to this, if you haven't heard the episode yet, we did a theoretical podcast on I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Very funny stuff.
Are you sure?
We did a theoretical podcast.
Took you a second. That threw you through a loop.
On Breaking Bad, for Perspective Breaking Bad Better Call Saul cast.
Don't mind me, I'm fucking shit up. It's fine.
We're starting off great.
We are.
Number 3, the potential to go through the Studio Ghibli-verse, watching all those movies. I watched one yesterday.
Which
in
one?
The theater. It was very good. Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Ooh,
Saw
in the theater. Very nice.
Pretty incredible. We'll talk about it later.
No, that I feel like now we've talked about it. We can move past it.
And number 4, the most recent one we did, and the favorite choice of one of our patrons that we got to chat with earlier today, Malcolm in the Middle, the Life is Unfair podcast, coming soon to you.
Yeah, and I've got to mention it because if you just listen to Into the Time Knife and you don't listen to all of our extra podcasts or our other feed podcasts, you can go vote right now for what our next podcast is going to be between those 4. You can go to Facebook, Can't Disappoint Podcast. You can go to YouTube, Can't Disappoint Podcast. Or you can go to Twitter at You Can't Disapod and vote for your favorite of the 4 options 3 times right now. And then on Thursday, this Thursday, the final day of the vote, head over to our Instagram for the final push 24-hour vote, the poll on our Instagram stories over at Can't Disappoint Podcast. Just 1. So that's all the information. You've got until Thursday. Go vote. What? Because that was for You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. But then our umbrella name became Can't Disappoint Podcast.
Are you sure that the Instagram is that?
The Instagram is Can't Disappoint Podcast.
It's not You Can't Disapod?
Like no, Twitter? That's Twitter.
Damn,
Twitter.
I said it every week for
No, you didn't. You said
years.
It right. You said it right every time. You're just doing this right now. Twitter was always You Can't Disapod because Can't Disappoint Podcast was a few characters too many. Or else they all would have been Can't Disappoint Podcast, even though I like You Can't Disappoint. But that's not the point. The point is you can vote for our next show on social media right now. I'm very excited to see what you're going to pick. I think it could be quite a few of the options. I think it could be any of them. I can't help but notice every time we've talked about the potential winner between ourselves that never once have you said Studio Ghibli. You're not feeling like that one's going to win, are you?
I would love for that one to win.
Yeah,
but I don't know that it's gonna get the love of the more the comedy driven show.
You were just talking before we started recording about betting on the ponies. Have you been putting money into which of our podcast options is going to win?
I've been pushing the odds a little bit. I'm trying.
What's the over/under? How much money do you have on this, and how much are you hoping to get out of it?
I'm not going to give a dollar
like 10
amount, Zach, but I'm just going to say if I hadn't been putting money into this, I could have finally paid for that surgery you've been wanting to get, Zach. You could have had all 10 toes.
I've been
again.
Begging you to pay
all
for
little
my
piggies to be back
surgery.
on those little nubbins.
Yeah.
But instead,
9's
I've
fine,
put
but
a
8
large
is
amount.
not enough.
8 is certainly not enough for what we need to do. So hope to God the one I'm betting on wins. Can't say it legally, but hopefully that one wins. The real winner will be the audience for getting to hear you and I absolutely confess our love week after week once more.
You said a minute or two ago that we didn't start very well. I think we started great. I think we started very well. Do you still feel like we didn't? Do you feel like we biffed it a little?
I thought I did great. I was the one that was.
That's an interesting
fumbling around with the patron list. Come on.
Well, speaking of that patron list, we can't start off this show, the anti-penultimate episode of the podcast, and our penultimate Good Place recap. I gotta break those words out now that we're in the last few episodes. That's the only reason we commit to the end of the show, is so when we get to those last couple episodes, I can make everyone remember that I use these words.
Yeah.
We got to shout out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. I'm going to start this week with Vic D, who is the newest addition to the list. And one of our favorites right now. Vic was kind enough to spend a little time with us on the Patreon over on You Can't Disappre Show, our weekly live pre-show we do before recording this podcast. And it was delightful. Vic is very funny. Vic has some very cool Good Place props and memorabilia and stories that shows that I think Vic should be running this show, not us.
Yeah, and Vic, if you want to make it to the secret level, the OT3, if you will.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about Scientology. Really, I'm talking a lot about Scientology lately. Don't ask. I'm fine. Don't worry.
How much money you have in that, Zach? But if you want to reach that level, just go ahead and send us that book along with your bones.
I'm not going to say in dollars.
It'd be great.
Yeah, Vic, I wasn't going to bring Scientology up at all.
Yeah.
I got it out before the show. Guys, don't ask. I'm fine. If I start acting weird, if I have that Tom Cruise look in my eye, let me know and I'll cease.
You'll cease?
No, Steven and I are full suppressive people. The Church of Scientology does not want us. So that's Vic D. That's the first of the patrons. I had a lot of fun hanging out with Vic today, and because of the Good Place revelations in that episode, I think it's worth subscribing to the Patreon at a $5 level just to hear or see that episode of You Can't Disappre Show. Meanwhile, we've also got, our old standards, the people that have been here for us for a long time, and we're very thankful for them every week. Those people are Mary Baker Budisa. Whoa. Oh. For a second, I thought Danny was no longer on this list.
That would be so funny. Is that how she's going to break up with me right now?
I wouldn't be mad. Oh, and those people are Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, and Lil S. Haker. Thank you to all those people. And if you would like to support us, Steven, where can the people go? I'm going to throw it to you this time.
You can.
You don't normally say this. How's this going to go? Walk through the big green
door and go over to patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcasts.
Excellent. Very well done.
Is that
you
plural?
did a great job. No, because, again, it was just for the one podcast at the time.
You can't add an S? Or would it just be...
Tried.
That wouldn't be smart. Because we've said it on too many things.
That's kind of... Yeah, you got to keep... Once you've got the thing, you got to stick with it.
It's
the fun thing about changing up our podcast is that we get like a new shot to try something when we start another one.
Yeah.
Whatever. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. We've got a few weeks left here on the Time Knife, so get in there now while you can still get your weekly shout out on Into the Time Knife if this is your preferred Zach and Steven podcast, which it's a good one. If this is your favorite, I get it. Let's talk about ourselves a little bit. You teed up some stuff. You went to see Nausicaa. How was that?
It was really cool. They're doing this festival at a theater, the same theater that I went and saw Blue Giant at, Zach's favorite animated jazz movie of all time. I went to go see that one in the same theater. I had no idea what you
were talking about until you described it.
Yeah, I had to. But it was cool. Went with a couple people. I had never seen Nausicaa. It's one of, if not the first, Studio Ghibli
No, Totoro's
movies.
first. I think
Totoro was
Nausicaa
older than...
is early, though.
Nausicaa was 84. When was Totoro?
I mean, I don't remember. I just
79,
remember
81.
looking at like the list of films in order.
But it was really, really good. Really cool world building. A nice, like, kind of environmental message vis-a-vis Avatar, kind of. Subliminally. Really...
Ferngully.
Really impressive animation. More so Ferngully. I'll put it more in the Ferngully camp. But really cool. Beautiful, awesome, recognizable music. It was pretty awesome. I think I gave it a 4 stars on Letterboxd, so an 8 for me on my anime list.
I can do math.
Yeah, just creeping into the 8 category because the story's so
low
good.
8.
It's about 2 hours long, and it feels like it at times, but none of it was bad or boring. It's just the world building was so good that they had to take some time to do it. But it was cool.
Maybe like future watches will be a little bit better than the first watch because you're like waiting for the thing to happen.
Lots of things happen. It's pretty action packed actually, which is cool.
I saw 2 movies in the movie theater this week, and it was my first time seeing a movie in the theater in like 3 months. It's been a while, and it was healing. I saw The Fall Guy.
What'd you think?
I mean, it was a stupid, action-packed, funny enough summer movie. So if that's what you want, if you want to like have a few beers, if you want to watch a fun movie, laugh a little bit, watch Ryan Gosling be charming, and some cool action, perfectly fine movie, perfectly acceptable. I gave it like a 3 out of 5 because I had a lot of goodwill going into it because I liked the idea. I liked that it was focusing on stunt performers, and Ryan Gosling is really cool and cute and funny right now. So I was really going in wanting to like it, and there were just a few too many head scratchy moments for me that I went a little bit lower. But if you just want a good time, The Fall Guy was a plenty good time.
That's good.
Some really, really, really cool action because it's about stunt performers, and the movie is directed by a former stunt performer.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
That shows, and that's probably the best thing of the movie. But like the love story is really half baked, and like the plot with the villain is kind of half baked, and I don't know. It was fine, but I something that was much better than fine. I finally saw Challengers, and I really liked it. I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I was gripped the entire time.
Yeah, I think it looks incredible.
I saw it by myself, so I was able to keep. I could keep that I had sprouted at least a halfie, fully to myself. I did yell it because that's just what I do. That's just part of it for me. Yeah, it's a very sexy movie.
It looks like it.
Yeah, but it's not really. I guess some people are disappointed because it's not really as like explicit or pornographic.
Doesn't do nude. I don't know what they're wanting from her. This is as far as she's gone in anything. Let the girl be. Okay.
I mean, we're just 2 gentlemen here. It's just you and me. If that's what you're looking for in a film experience, sometimes it's better to see everything but, and I think you will be pleased as a fan in the content of this film.
Zach, if you don't think I know exactly what happens in every scene of that movie, you're absolutely wrong.
But you should see it because it's really good. It's the director of Call Me By Your Name and Bones and All, who I have come to really appreciate. I like his movies, and I think this is my favorite that I've seen.
The tennis boys bang the same peach? They kiss. There's some tongue.
That's a spoiler. I don't know if you should have said that.
Sorry.
Because that's actually that's a spoiler.
I feel like the second the movie came out, that was spoiled for anyone that's on the internet.
Really? Okay, I haven't seen that. Okay. Well, because the way in the trailer, they make you think in that scene that they're doing something to Zendaya.
You're talking about when
in fact,
you're the one spoiling.
You said it was fine.
I said
it was a good movie. 4.5 stars. It was one of the things that makes a movie really win for me is if the ending, occasionally the ending of a movie makes me want to go like, yeah, and like almost applaud and be like, fuck yeah, that I'm left breathless by the way the movie ended. And the moment where the movie ends, I was like, nice. There could have been more story after it. I could see why maybe you aren't totally fulfilled by the ending, that you wanted a little bit more, but the moment that it chooses to end on, I thought was perfect. I really like that movie. Really great acting, really good. I'm a Zendaya appreciator, but not super fan, and she's outstanding in the movie. She's so good.
As a Zendaya super fan, I'm very excited to see it.
Anything else you want to talk about before we get into The Good Place? We got all of our Mormon, Scientology, Jehovah's Witness talk out kind of before the show. It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, check it out if you are in our rooms.
No, that was just between you and me.
Yeah, I fucking know if you would let me finish my sentence, Zach.
You know I could never let you finish a single sentence.
Damn it.
God, I'll be damned if there's a second of silence from me. Do you want to bring up anything else?
Demon Slayer and My Hero started, and those are both good. Check them out.
Okay.
I have them both tattooed on me.
On my body.
Both of them are on my body.
We're going to talk about, it's a really big occasion for the podcast. We've been talking a lot between ourselves and on the Malcolm podcast last week that we're feeling very bittersweet, but heavy on the bitter and heavy on the sweet about ending our recaps of The Good Place and ending Into the Time Knife. I think the Community Good Place comparisons are coming. That I feel like we'll have to talk about that in our last podcast. I'm just feeling a lot of things. I'm feeling a lot of things compared to how we felt when we ended Community. Steven and I are going to take a break. I'm very excited for a break. I also like kind of maybe this is my favorite podcast we've done together so far. Am I going to sleep with other... Steven, I do sleep with someone who's not you every night.
Well, that's hurtful to learn on the air. I thought it was weird that you went to the gym 4 times a day, but were never sweaty when you came back.
I'm going to the gym. No, I am sad that this is ending. I think this is my favorite podcast that we've made together so far. And The Good Place is such an infallible piece of television that even watching this last episode, the first half of it, I'm like, man, I would have been fine if there were like 3 episodes between the last one and this one, or if this episode was like half a season or something. It's just such a good show, and both it and I hope this podcast are leaving me and you, the audience, you, Steven, wanting more. So here we are. We're at the beginning of the end in our recap of season 4, episode 12. We're going to call it chapter 52, Whenever You're Ready, part 1. Hi, everybody. I'm Moonbeam Banana. The face you're making is very confused.
I don't get that at all.
That's fine. We'll get there.
Is that from this episode?
Of course it is. I'm going to let you think about it. I'm going to let you stew on it. Moonbeam Banana. I broke it.
I have no idea when in this episode that happens.
Well, you're not going to mention it in your recap in a little bit, so that's gonna be a few demerits for sure for missing Moonbeam Banana.
Wow, I don't even know how to follow. I'm Steven.
You could introduce yourself.
I'm Steven. Got no riff.
You are Steven. Well, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about this episode, Whenever You're Ready, Part 1. This episode was directed by the series creator, Michael Schur. Previously, as a director, he did Michael's Gambit, the Season 1 finale, Somewhere Else, the Season 2 finale, Pandemonium, the Season 3 finale, and in the future, he directs Whenever You're Ready, Part 2, the Season 4 finale. So when he comes to direct an episode, it's these big statement episodes.
Do you think that he at any point was like, when I'm directing the episode Michael's Gambit, it's really my Gambit,
His Gambit.
Because I made the show?
Someone on set maybe made that joke, and he said, "You're fucking fired. Get out of here, guy that plays Bomba John. You're done.
You're done. Your character's not growing."
No, what I wanted to say about him as a director is I think in this episode it shows that we've got, not to demerit any of the television directors that do a great job on the show, but you can tell in certain sequences of this part 1 that the camera or the one calling the cameraman
was in the hands of an
expert, of like an artiste.
There's that
specifically
scene in particular.
Well, we might be thinking of 2 different ones, actually. Are you talking about the outside, the forest, the spinning trees?
No, I'm talking about the one shot.
When it's Eleanor going to Michael's office and the way the camera is walking around between them, but it doesn't feel like a handheld. That is exactly what I'm talking about. I'll give you a gold apple for
Fuck yeah.
for being up to it.
Only 17 more and I can finally touch.
Both times I watched part 1, I thought, wow. That's filmic, that's cinematic, and it's done so well in this last episode. Director Michael Schur. The episode was written as well by series creator Michael Schur. As a writer, he previously wrote the pilot, Everything is Fine. He wrote Michael's Gambit and Somewhere Else. He co-wrote the first part of the season 3 premiere, Everything is Bonzer with Jen Statsky. And then, of course, next week he finishes this thing up, writing Whenever You're Ready, part 2. This episode originally aired both parts at once as one piece, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It originally aired on January 30th, 2020.
Wow. It's just so crazy to me that this show only ended 4 years ago.
And kind of crazy how the end of the show kind of culminated in the end of Life as We Knew It.
Yeah.
Things changed once The Good Place ended. And The Good Place was such a... I think I watched season 4 early pandemic, and it was such a comfort in those times.
And I didn't watch season 4 until 2021.
Yeah. Such a comfort in hectic times. It still is now. That's part of the reason why and with Community too, why I'm hesitant to let it go, because coming to these pieces of just genuine, positive, happy, funny, interesting, captivating, like just getting to come to this every week, it's such a comfort, whether it's 2020 mid-pandemic, like early huge pandemic when we started podcasting, to like now when both of our personal lives have come up a lot and we're doing things, and now we're like overwhelmed for different reasons, and all throughout coming to the text of The Good Place has been a comfort. And since this aired, it was a comfort. January 30th, 2020. Since these last 2 episodes aired on the same night, this might be the last time we do this, so lock in. We're going back to January 30th, 2020 to talk about the number 1 movie, except we can't, because we already talked about it. It's Bad Boys 3 for Life.
Terrible title.
Number 2, then. Also, of course, we can't mention, it's 1917, the war film. We've talked about that too. So we're going to talk about number 3. This is a family film, and this is like the 3rd time that they've made this first movie.
Oh, no.
It's a family film based on an old book. The first one was British and in like the 60s or 70s. The second one was black and in the 90s and 2000s. And then the third one was British again, I think.
The Haunted Mansion?
No, that's a really good guess.
Yeah.
But no, it's family movie. Hey, the black lead actor in the Haunted Mansion remake is the same lead actor in the black remake of this film. And they made several with said person. I'm leading you to it. I feel like you should get it. Family film. They made multiple movies with that person. There was an old one. It's based on a book. And now in 2020, the number 3 movie was the new one starring a huge name that I'm sure you've forgotten that this ever happened. This new one. Put some respect on Dr. Doolittle's name right now.
Dr. Doolittle's been made 3 times?
Yeah, it's a really old book about a guy, like an adventurer that can talk to animals.
Is that a Roald Dahl?
No, I don't think so. I think it's even older than that. And there was a British film, I believe. Maybe it's American, and it just felt British to me when I was a kid because it was so old. That was like from my parents' generation. That was like a direct telling of the book. And then there was the Eddie Murphy one, which kind of turned it more into a family movie, family struggle movie, and spawned like a bunch of sequels, like even
and the
past
spin-off
Eddie
with
Murphy.
Kyla Pratt as his daughter that could then speak to animals.
And then now, do you remember in 2020 when they made Doolittle, or who it starred?
No.
This was the big return to screen after Robert Downey Jr. left his role as Iron Man. His big first film after Avengers Endgame was Doolittle, the remake of the Dr. Doolittle story, and it bombed. So
yeah,
I'm telling you the whole story. Let's go over to Rotten Tomatoes. We've got the critic score and the audience score, and there are things about these scores that blow my fucking mind, so take that however you want. We'll start with the critics. For Doolittle 2020.
60.
No, you sweet, sweet, simple boy.
Oh, is it like in the 20s?
I bet they wish it was in the 20s.
13.
Very, very close.
12?
No, it's 15% from the Rotten Tomatoes critics. 15%.
That's a bad score.
For Doolittle. What about the audience? The audience of Doolittle. I feel like you feel your own pop culture knowledge is comparable and a little greater than the general audience, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know this fucking existed.
No.
What do you think the audience feels about it that did make it to it? If you put your perspective to people who did know this movie existed, that did actually
I think it's
see
higher
it in
than
the
the
theaters.
critics' score.
15% higher than that. How high?
45.
It is higher.
By a lot?
Yes.
86.
It's lower than that. But the critic score is 15%. The audience score is 76%.
Wow.
76 trombones at the big parade, while 110 cornets. Do you know that one? The Music Man? Anybody?
I'm not too familiar with the Music Man, but I do know it
didn't grow
exists.
up white. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's Doolittle. Well, let's move over to Letterboxd. I always say the Letterboxd of music for Rate Your Music. So I'm going to say the Rate Your Music of movies, Letterboxd. Where do you think they stand
Sounds like an
on
insult.
Doolittle? Percent out of 100.
45.
You're pretty close. It's a little bit lower.
42?
It's 40. 40%.
Okay, that's not bad.
It's not good, but for Doolittle 12
Third
starring,
generation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the new one really went back to the roots of it being like about an explorer going off to places, because that's what the book was about. Like he would explore, and in his travels, he would talk to the animals and help them out and stuff. Whereas he was like a vet. I don't know. He might have been a vet.
Dr. Dolittle.
He might have been a vet in the original, but that's just like the starting off point. That's not like what it's about. I think that's more what the Robert Downey Jr. one was.
I like the vet version more than he just travels and talks to fucking animals.
The number one album this week is by one of those stars, and we're back January 30th, 2020. One of those stars who can kind of do it all. They can act, they can sing, they can dance, they can be funny, they can be serious, they can be influencer. Your mileage may vary on how good you think this person is at each individual thing, though. Mm-hmm. Do you have any guesses of who that star may be? 2020 era, number one album. This person's on screen a lot.
It's not Beyonce.
No, that's why I'm saying, like, your mileage may vary. If it was Beyonce, I wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah,
like,
so it's not Rihanna.
Not quite
it's not
Beyonce
Jennifer
level.
Hudson.
No, go way smaller.
Not Kelly Clarkson.
Or at least not been around. Like, this is a screen figure of our childhood, who was also young on shows that we watched as a kid.
Oh, Ariana Grande.
No.
Can you give me a hint, like the type of music they make? Can you give me a single?
Honestly, okay, the singles to this album, I won't give you one of them because it's the album title. Yeah. The other two are Look at Her Now and Lose You to Love Me.
Okay. It's our girl Selena Gomez. I do like Selena.
Yeah, I don't have anything against Selena, but you started with Beyonce, and I was like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah. I like her relationship with Benny Blanco. Fan of that on TikTok.
Did you see that they recently released like the first photos on set of the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot?
I did. Is she going to be on it?
Yes, but I think like similar to how Topher Grace and Laura Prepon show up in, but it's like the show's about Justin and his family.
That's cute.
I think, and I don't like the title. Did you see that they announced
Wizards
the title?
of
Beyond Waverly Place.
That's stupid.
But do you remember what this album would be called? It was another single. Do you have any guesses? It's one word.
Let me think. Let's see.
How do you like your steak?
Oh, it's rare.
It's rare. It's rare and bloody. It's
Wouldn't have gotten
Rare
that, so glad
by Selena Gomez. This album, Lose You to Love Me, Look at Her Now, Rare. I could name several Selena Gomez songs, and none of them are those.
I know Lose You to Love Me.
Give me like 4 bars.
I gave you the world and you fell for it. Sing along to my chorus in these words. And
stop. The single from Selena Gomez, like post-child star that I know the most is Bad Liar. Is that what it's called? With my feelings on fire is a bad liar. I like that song.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, this album rare.
Look good for you. Good for you.
I wasn't as into that one.
I liked that one.
But you do say that to me very often while you're in your, what was it, edible, what does Eleanor say? Like
my edible
like
robe.
Judge robes or like college graduation robes?
Valedictorian robes.
Valedictorian robes. There we go. That's something I haven't talked about. I went to a college graduation.
Pick up any hotties?
Struck out. I tried, struck out. Yeah. Once they learned that I had not graduated college.
Yeah, the faculty wasn't Indeed. And
Rare by Selena Gomez, pitchfork out of 10 to the first decimal point.
6.5.
You're very, very close.
6.6.
You're closer, but still wrong. It's 6.8 out of 10.
Okay.
That's a pretty okay score.
It's fine, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that.
What about rate your music out of 10? The rate your music of music, rate your music out of 10 to the first decimal point. Where are we feeling?
How about... I'm going to say it's close to this number. Maybe a little higher. Can I get a 7.1?
On rate your music? No, you can't. You cannot get a 7.1. You may not.
Wrong direction?
Wrong direction.
How about 5.4?
5.0. Just right on the dot.
Okay.
Just a 5. So that's like a 2.5. It was like a
Yeah.
2.51, I think is what it was. Well, that's it. It's January 30th, 2020. Do you feel like it? Do you feel what we're talking to each other on Zoom? We wouldn't have known what that was quite
I
yet.
would not have known what Zoom was at the time.
And here we are. We're here, the air date of the final episode of The Good Place. Of course, we're just here to discuss part 1. And more importantly, in this moment, Steven is here to recap part 1. It's time, everybody, to gather together for the penultimate time to find out, did Steven watch the episode this week?
Watch the episode this week when you're with me, baby. Naturally, Selena Gomez.
I figured it was Selena.
Everything comes naturally. She does
Selena Gomez or Selena?
Selena.
Right.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez, nothing against her.
I like Selena Gomez.
I don't personally care for her acting in Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, is she not good?
People like that show. I think it's a decent show. I put it in like the Ted Lassos and Schitt's Creeks of like, I get why people like it. Good. I get why people like it, but it's a little too normie for me. For like a comedy, there's nothing subversive enough about it to stick out to me. Ted Lasso, Schitt's Creek, and like Schitt's Creek's funny people. It's wholesome, it's sweet, but it's not like... I can
see that, especially in the early episodes of Schitt's Creek, especially.
And I've seen it all.
Oh, well, can't help you. You know what scene I don't like?
Huh.
When Stevie sings the song from Cabaret. Don't care for that. It makes people cry, not me.
Yeah, exactly. That's like kind of how I feel about that whole show. I get it, not really into it. Like, it's fine. Like, I liked it. I didn't regret watching it, but it's not showing up like on my top 50 list. And sure. Only Murders in the Building, I feel like Selena Gomez's her face is very flat. Not a lot of expression. And I think that's partly
it's
her
the Crohn's disease,
character.
You asshole.
Yeah, and what about Christina Applegate in that last season of Lie to Me? Something was off. Do you not get that joke? She's very sick.
Yeah.
She's very unwell.
Remember
You got
Lie
30
to Me?
seconds on the clock.
I love Lie to Me.
Is that not Lie to Me? Dead to Me is the show I was trying to think of. Christina Applegate.
Oh, that's not good. Did you know she was in the original cast of the Pussycat Dolls?
The original cast of the Pussycat Dolls.
Yeah.
Like the band?
Yeah. She was the original front
Christina
woman.
Applegate?
Yeah.
From Married with Children and Anchorman?
Yeah. View from the top.
You've got 30 seconds on the clock. How are you feeling about recapping just part 1 of The Good Place series finale?
I don't know how well I'm going to do, honestly. I'm going to try.
That's typical. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be feeling good because we just hung out with one of our patrons,
Yeah.
Vic D, and Vic D's favorite part of the show is decidedly did Steven watch the episode this week. So you've got to do
I'm really,
Vic proud.
Honored by, and I know that people comment on YouTube a lot that they enjoy it, which kind of blows my mind because I don't do that good of a job. But I guess that's kind of that's the draw,
fun.
right? Like
Yeah.
if I really put a lot of effort into it, it wouldn't be fun.
So
one
you're
time
saying
that I
they
actually
inspire
took
you to put less effort
and, like,
into
studied
it?
them beforehand, you gave me a terrible score because you said it had no heart.
I still think you should maybe give that a try sometime.
No, you literally gave me the worst score you ever gave me when I did that.
Yeah, okay, but that's one time that you tried it versus the 150 times you've gotten like a C minus.
Zach, but here's what I have found. You
could try it one more time.
Unwavering in your feelings and your thoughts. You are steadfast. You are.
I don't think that's
like a ship blown from its mooring.
You think that I could never change my mind on anything. I don't think that's fully true.
But I think you know what you like and what you don't like if you've tried it. You'll try it. And if it's better, you'll change your mind. But if you didn't like it, you're not going to like it now.
Well, I think, but also, what I really want for you to get the perfect score is to find a way to touch on everything. That doesn't have to mean in your note taking, you've got to mention every single detail. You just got to mention, like, what are the plots? How do they start and end? And if you can get that, you're golden.
Okay. Let's do it. I'll do it. I'll do that right now.
Okay. Well, let's see. On go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Time has passed, everyone's living their perfect afterlife, and Jason finally completes all his goals and realizes that he's ready to go. He feels peace, they have a goodbye party, everyone's sad, but they get it. They move on. The next person is Tahani to realize she's accomplished her list. She's made amends with her parents, and then she wants to be an architect, so she starts that. Then Eleanor fears that Chidi's going to go next, so she starts...
I said 30 seconds, which was wrong. It's 20 seconds, and I cut you off at 20 seconds, because once the time started, I was like, 30 is too long. I don't know. I didn't feel like there was very much heart in it.
Yeah, you didn't feel like there was any fucking heart in it, did you, Zach? You don't want me. You don't know what you want.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. You were close. There was too much for you to get all three of the things. Because this episode that we're covering is like longer. 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes longer.
So I should have had an additional at least 3 seconds.
I have my timer stopped at 28 seconds. I don't think that's correct. I think I cut you off at about 22 seconds. Yeah. Regardless, I'm going to give you points, but it wasn't a perfect showing, and that might not be your fault this time, and I'll keep that in mind. But I don't grade on that scale. I am unwavering in that.
Yeah. You
did good. I think you could have used, because of the episode that we're covering specifically, a little more heart in the Janet Jason goodbye. Yeah. And I don't think did you get to Tahani becoming an architect?
I did.
I don't remember that.
I literally said that Tahani then completes her list, then she decides to become an architect, and she starts training. And then I said, Chidi, where I got cut off was... Eleanor thinks that Chidi might be ready to go, and then I was about to say, so she takes him, but then I didn't get that out.
Yeah, and if I wanted you to get perfect, I would have maybe liked Chidi is starting to get bored of the everyday, put a little bit of like Chidi's in. You did really well now that I'm thinking about it, but not perfect because it's hard. Yeah. So I think we're at a B+. I think we're at a B+.
Okay. Low end of what I thought, but I'll take it.
Really? You thought you were going to get...
I thought A-.
I don't think you can barely get to the third of 3 things and get an A.
I got half of the third of 3 things.
Look, I'm not going to argue with you.
Are that Chidi, that Eleanor is afraid of Chidi getting ready to leave, and the other half is so she takes him to Greece to try and reignite his spark and love for her.
I'm sticking with the B+. I think you did good, and I don't think it's exactly your fault that you couldn't get everything, but I judge on if you got everything, which you did not. Let's do some trivia.
Fine, I'll take it. I've got questions for you.
At first, I thought there's a point in the episode where I was like, I've just been watching this and taking notes. I only have like 2 questions, but then I added
a bunch.
I added a lot more. I have like 7 or 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11.
Go ahead. You go first.
What attempt of Michael's project do we open on?
I have a solid guess. I think it's 803.
You're right. You got it.
Because I took the notes this morning, so it's really fresh on me. My first question for you, how many frog things at the beginning are on Jeff's desk?
Now, is this the beginning of the scene that he's in or the end?
The reason I say the beginning is because in the end of part 1,
he has
again.
More stuff.
I am looking for the number at the end of the first scene.
320.
I really want you to get this. I really, really want this for you. Yes, 323. Because at first he does say 323,
324,
and then he gets one more. Great work.
Because I was like, I remember when I watched the episode thinking, oh, now he has 324. Now that Tahani gave him something, but
that would have been wrong. But you weren't. Wrong. You were right. You got it.
What is the doorman's name?
Jeff.
You got it.
I remember like looking up the doorman at one point when he started showing up, and it credited him as Jeff. And I was like, when do we learn that his name is Jeff? And I think it's here, right? This is the
got to
first.
be here. Your turn.
That makes it my turn. What time is it?
I don't know. I turned off my ability to feel time. 10:41.
You're really
10:21.
Less close.
10:23.
10:42.
10:42.
You were just off by 1.
Damn.
10:42 a.m.
How much humanity did the judge almost delete?
I know these. 2%. What did Jason try to do while on Salvia?
This was one of my questions. I'm just going to give the whole answer.
That's fine.
He saw both the past and future at the same time.
Correct. Not the answer to the question.
And then he tried to brush his teeth with a cat?
Yeah, he brushed his teeth with his cat. Correct.
Yeah. What is Jason going to play all night?
EDM.
Hey, you got it.
What movie does Tahani watch with her family?
Home Alone.
Yes.
It's cute. Who would Jason be okay with Janet falling in love with?
I know these! Jason Momoa and Laura Croft Tomb Raider.
You got it.
That was a funny line. What song has Michael mastered on the guitar?
Hey There, Delilah.
Yes.
Who does Pillboy compare Jason to?
Ooh, I wrote this down and used the subtitles to write it down, but it is not a person I know. So you're going to say it and I'm going to know it, but I'm not going to be able to get it right because I don't know who this person is. I don't know their name off the top of my head.
Just throw some
General or Admiral something.
Continue.
That's it.
Please tell me Admiral's last name.
Admiral Beep Bop.
Ooh, Admiral
Beep
Bop was really close. We were looking for Gardner Minshew.
Please tell me Admiral's last name. Gardner Minshew. Do you know who this person is?
Yeah, he was a backup quarterback for the Jaguars. Ended up coming in playing pretty well. Scored a decent contract with the Colts. Actually, was in Indianapolis for a while.
Historical figure.
Played last year in Indianapolis for the Colts. Gardner Minshew. He's got a banging mustache.
Beep bop.
Admiral Beep Bop.
How does Beatty take her antimatter?
That was your question.
Yeah.
With non-fat soy demon cream.
Yeah. Love getting filled up with some demon cream. No, with non-dairy neutrinos.
Neutrinos.
Yeah.
Gotta get the neutrinos. Okay, that was the salvia question. Who did Tahani's parents eat lobster tails with?
I wrote it down. I don't know who this person is.
Give me Admiral's last name. Come on.
Persephone Felonius.
Oh my God, Zach, you are not close at all.
I hate you so much.
We were looking for Oscar de la Renta.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oscar
Do you know who that is?
de la Renta. He's a designer.
Cool.
Who are you wearing? I'm wearing de la Renta.
I bought this shirt on the street of Madison, Wisconsin.
I didn't de la
some
rent
guy
this.
out of a suitcase. I put it on to show the guy I was a supporter, and someone else outside was like, "You should wash that before you wear it." And I said, "You're so right," and I took it off.
That's so funny. Yeah, this is a collaboration.
Godzilla.
Crunchyroll and Godzilla.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Is it my turn? Your turn.
It's your turn.
What is Tahani's restaurant called?
The Really Good Pizzeria?
Try harder.
Tasty Pizza.
It's funny how we're always like, I don't know it, so we'll say something silly. We're like, no, apply yourself. Try harder.
Yeah.
We both do that. I'm like, I fucking don't know it. It's Tahani's Perfect Pizza Palace.
Like, relatively close in the
you
right
didn't even say
I knew it was
Tahani.
something about good pizza.
Good pizza.
Who took Tahani's departure very hard?
B&J.
Do you know who? Can you tell me who those
Would
people are?
that refer to Ben and Jerry? Or are those the first initials of her parents?
Bay and J, Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Bay and J. I heard B and J, which is what, but I didn't think of Bay. I heard B and J and thought Ben and Jerry.
You're like, why do they care?
But
Your
B and
turn.
J, that's close enough to right? That's the answer. They don't say, "Come on, give it to me." To quote young Billie Eilish, what is it? "Hit me hard and soft."
Hey, I heard the album. I liked it.
I've been listening to the older ones again first.
Nice.
I like Billie Eilish's music quite a bit.
I need to revisit the last one because I didn't give that one a very fair shake.
I like the first one better, but the second one has some really good songs, and
The first one's good as fuck.
unabashedly like her music.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's great.
She and Glee Boy do well.
One last question for you, Good Bull. What new Shakespeare play does Eleanor mention?
The Tempest 2. Here We Blow Again?
Yes. Good job.
I was going to say Thar She Blows, but then I remember it's got to be sequel based. Where did the...
Not that big a deal. Happened to the best of us. Not me, but a lot of us.
Sorry, you're just really pretty. Where did the philosophers gather? I don't know why I couldn't say that word without, malfunctioning. Where did the philosophers gather? There we go.
The Arglue.
You're...
I know. I don't know what it is, and I remember that part. Where do all the heavy hitters hang out? And we're here, the ARP beep. The ARP beep.
The ARP beep, Zach. You got it. The Agora.
The Agora. Okay.
Isn't agoraphobia the fear of light?
No, agoraphobia is like the fear of leaving your home.
Ah. So outside is agora. So this is just outside.
Yeah, fear of outside. It's like an outside meeting space.
So the agora is the outside.
Yeah, we could go there right now, you and me. We could just go outside anytime we want, anytime of day.
There's a chance, Zach. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here.
You might go to Greece.
There's a chance I will be there this summer for a competition, yeah.
Tell John Travolta I said hi and that I'm deeply interested in his religion.
Is he... That's good. That's a good one. Zach, you get a bonus point for that.
I don't have any more questions, so give me what you got.
I don't either. That was my last one.
Hit me hard and soft. Oh. Well, you can still hit me.
Evened out, yeah.
Well, then what's next? We talk about the episode?
I guess. Do you have anything of note to say beforehand,
No,
Zach?
I guess. It's the first half of the series finale of The Good Place, and it's great. It doesn't work as an episode on its own because this, unlike... There's no argument with the other two-parters. This is the first half of one thing, so it doesn't feel like a full episode. The pacing is a little bit weird because the pacing's different across the hour of this episode. So it's not
I kind of expected us to, obviously, we have a lot of feelings about this, but... I don't know. I don't know that our recap portion of this first half of the episode is going to be as long as it's going to be next week.
Just you wait.
You're like, you stupid
Don't
bitch.
Count your recap minutes
you haven't
before
thought of
they
the smell.
hatch. No, I think there is a lot in this episode, and we'll talk about it. And I don't even think it's that the second half has all the good stuff. It's just that this is half of one thing, and it's paced differently than your regular episode of The Good Place. So because of that, I don't think... Part 1 of Whenever You're Ready is one of my all-time favorite episodes of The Good Place, even though it does and sets up some of the best, most smart things this show has and ever will do. It's a really great 27 minutes of TV. It kind of feels like The Good Place, the movie, a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
What about you? What are some overarching thoughts? You texted me at 4:30 a.m. my time last night that you were 6 minutes into the episode and that you were already crying.
I remember when I watched this originally, I think I cried through most of the episode the first time I saw it, just because I think that truly the best descriptor for how I feel about this episode is when you're gonna bite into a jalapeno popper and think it's gonna be too hot and it's perfect temperature. I do know that feeling exactly, and that level of peace and serenity and calmness and contentment with your place in the universe, I think, is one of the most beautiful things that's ever been represented in a sitcom. And
on television.
I just love it. Love it. Love.
And what I love is that The Good Place never takes the easy, obvious route. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. We've done so many season premieres and finales that show us the path of each of our 4 humans and how they get to whatever is going to happen. So it makes sense that the finale would be, over eternity, how do our 4 humans decide to leave that plane and be at peace? And that is what the finale is in a lot of ways, but it still zigs and zags in some really big ways. One of my biggest yay moments of the finale so far, because I haven't watched part 2 yet, and I've only seen this finale one time. So watching part 1 is having the memory of what happens with Jason in part 2. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
And
that makes I'm so excited.
That was one of my favorite funny reveal. Like that there's still even like there's still twists in The Good Place.
Yeah, even in the finale.
And TV show finales are weird. No TV show finale is the best episode of a show, even if it ends really well, because it feels different than any other episode of the show. Yeah, it feels like
it's just funny that the two of the all 3 shows that we've done an entire podcast about have a finale that's in contention for the best episode of the show.
I don't feel that way about the Community finale, even though I love it.
No.
I don't think it's in contention for the best episode of the show.
It's high up on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a lot of people.
Sure.
See, that's what, and I want to talk at some point Community versus Good Place, because I do not think Community is infallible. There are bad episodes of Community, and even the best stretches of Community are not perfect, and that's kind of why it's so good. The Good Place is really close to perfect.
It's very close to perfect.
Well, let's dig into the episode.
It
kicks off as several episodes and seasons have, with Michael and a tape recorder getting ready for attempt 803. I really like some subtle things about this episode, how there's a lot of showing and not telling in this first half. And one of these is that we are not living in the constant struggle of story that we have been so far. Because now Michael has time to be on attempt number 803 of trying to write and record this song that he's been working on for several seasons. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. Yeah. Everything is great. It's really going well. And because of that, Michael can dick around. And I think this really subtly sets up his journey for next week's episode. That at this point in his existence, he plays a little bit of his song and it really sucks. The lyric in this one is "The marshmallow cat is inside." Is part of it. He's singing about a groovy wave of love and purple freaky vibes of love, but he stops in frustration. His words are meaningless, and he summons Janet. He's lost. He can't do the stupid E chord, which is one of the easiest chords.
Oh yeah, E's not the hard one. The hard one.
F is the hard one.
Yeah, F's hard.
Yeah, I was never able to get F. And then I stopped learning how to play the guitar. So Janet pops in and offers like a magical guitar that plays all the chords. And what sets up Michael's thing in this episode is that's not where he's at anymore. He is trying to learn how to do things without the help of his afterlife abilities, which is such a nice development for Michael. Michael's come a long way, and the way that we set up his ending here of him just sitting back and like watching his creation work is really sweet.
There's something really wholesome about undying, powerful being has a desire to struggle with menial tasks. Like it's
or
great.
Just the crux of this last season of forever is daunting and scary and not everybody's dream. This all-powerful being doesn't want to be all powerful anymore and wants to feel that failure, that falling down, the potential death of being a human. And I can't wait to watch how the show ends next week and how that all plays out, because I kind of forget how we get to certain things even in the 20 minutes left of the show that we have. Although I remember like how it ends, you know. I like Janet. She mentions the magic guitar and she says it's actually the number one request of most men over 50 who end up here, is this magic guitar that just plays all the chords automatically. Is really funny.
I fucking love it.
And Michael doesn't want it, but maybe keep it on deck just in case. Janet tells him that they need to get going or else they'll be late. And maybe one of the only beats that didn't really do anything positive or negative for me in the whole part 1 is like the shot of the weird CGI clock that's like, check the time. And he looks at the clock on the wall and it's going all crazy. It's a little Seussian for me. I don't know.
Yeah, you do famously hate Theodore Geisel.
Oh, he's fine. Do I? Famously?
Famously.
I don't know if I do anything famously.
Oh, not yet, baby boy, but you'll get there.
He picks up his folder and he's like singing his stupid song to himself. And the way that this episode works is walking through green doors. And I like how they bring that in and how that's the way that they get to hang out in all the places they've always wanted to. That like their comfortable, good place locales. Yeah. That's the way that they get to go wherever they want. And the way that they film throughout this whole episode, like the walk and talk of walking through a door and being somewhere totally different, but continuing it as if it was a forward motion, and like you know what I'm.
Yeah,
am
that's
I
great.
saying
It's
clearly?
very fluid.
They do it. Yes, it's very fluid. They do it
comfortable.
very well.
It's lived in. It's not a novelty at this point to them.
So they walk into the next room, which is Chidi's like lecture hall, and it's their living room, and he's giving a speech on mortality versus morality. And in this scene, it seems like, well, was the one guy actually like in real life? Was it a philosopher writer playing himself in this episode, or are all of the philosophers that they're playing like old dead people?
I'm guessing they're old dead people. I don't think there's a lot of modern day philosophers.
This would have been a cool opportunity, though, to maybe have a few people at the top of like
cameos,
philosophy, a few famous philosophers, to have some like smart brain
cool.
people. That's kind of what I thought it was for a second, but you don't think so?
I don't think so, but it could be.
Chidi says that mortality offers meaning to our lives, and morality helps navigate that meaning, which is pretty cool. It's a true point. But his point is questioned by a student, and it's funny that Eleanor speaks up.
Check yourself, Rando. I think Chidi Anagonye, who literally designed the afterlife, knows what he's talking about.
Look, I'm pretty sure I'm right since it's like my book.
Yes, Professor May, you're probably right about what you wrote.
Still think you should check himself.
Okay, everyone, we'll see you all here next week. Professor Hieronymy will be teaching the trolley problem.
Bring ponchos. It gets messy.
How do you feel about, in the first half of this episode, the parade of returning faces one last time, often just for one line, and returning themes and motives coming up just for one line, like the trolley problem here, a lot that we'll talk about. It's put in well. There are shows that do it poorly, but because we're in heaven, you can see anybody, you can be with anybody, you can visit anywhere. None of it feels out of place.
And I like the idea that every person that's there has been changed and improved by the new system.
Yeah.
And so it's not weird for someone to hang out with someone that they were both kind of bad people with.
Yeah.
Because they've grown. They're different. It's been eons in our time that they've had to grow and change. And I think there's something really beautiful and cool about that, that we love the people we love in spite of their flaws. But when those flaws are diminished, we can be with them in an even happier way is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really lovely. If you could reunite with those people that like, man, I wish they could just figure it out. And through the test of the afterlife, they are one of the people that does get the chance to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's that, you're right, that person that you love, that you had to step away from. That's really nice. And the way that we see that with Eleanor's friends in a little bit is a nice little moment. I love all the cameos. Chidi leaves with Michael and Janet. They go through the green door, and now they're in the hub with the doorman, and the doorman whose name we get for the first time, Jeff. He's talking about his collection of frogs. It's really grown. There are a lot of frogs now, and they walk past him to the judge's chamber. You know, they give him another frog. Now he has 233, but he's not overwhelmed yet. He's really into how many frogs he has.
Yeah, as he should be.
Would you like this to be your workspace, but with anime stuff?
It's too much clutter.
There's a limit.
There's a limit.
You've got a lot of, I wouldn't call it clutter, but you've got a lot of anime stuff cluttering your shot.
I'm close to limit. I have some space that I can use up there.
Yeah,
but
the ceiling, you could tape all kinds of shit to the ceiling.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at with it. But I like it. For me, I'm kind of a maximalist when it comes to stuff like this. This is a bit of an overstimulating room for some.
Well, I mean, it works because it's your podcasting background, you know.
Yeah,
but that's also where you live. You have to live with that, with your little.
Yeah, but I don't live in this
corner. They go to the judge's chamber next.
I don't live in the room, Zach. For
a meeting of the Joint Council of Afterlife Affairs. The judge wants to make it quick. We get a moment with Maya Rudolph, which is excellent. She just started watching The Leftovers. She's really upset that Carrie Coon never nominated for any awards, and she almost wiped out humanity because of it. It's fine. She's still the judge. The judge, even in this new setup, is still doing her thing. And Michael's able to update everyone that things are going well. There's humans coming in all the time, passing their tests. Right now, notably, some of them are Roberto Clemente. I don't know who that is. Do you?
Baseball player.
Sure. Zora Neale Hurston. Don't know that one. It's cute when they mention St. Thomas of Aquinas and Chidi goes, yes! How about Hazrat Bibi Rabia Basri?
Not familiar with their work.
They say before that it's a poet. And also Clara Peller, the Where's the Beef lady. That's fun,
That's cute.
Michael says. And the only problem now is that there's so many people that they need more architects and more actors. Very subtle line that will help set up a reason that they get more architects later in the episode. This gives Vicky a chance to speak up and saying that the demons that she's stuck with, they have no dedication to the craft. Mm-hmm. They did such a good job of making everybody's one line really true to their character.
Yeah, they did.
They think they can just start acting. They have to learn that acting is reacting, and reacting is pre-acting. But pre-acting, well, that's just being.
Okay, take it down a notch, Daniel Day-Lewis.
And we take things over to Sean. Sean's bit is what takes us into the last theme song sequence of the episode, when Sean says the system stinks, Michael stinks, the torture works so much better, and Michael assures him, there's going to be bumps, but the system is working. You have to admit it, Sean. And all Sean says is like the never, ever, 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 which is funny on its own, but his face acting. There's even one thing where like on one ever, he like moves his face and eyebrows to the left, and then on the next ever, he moves it over to the right of his face.
That's really
and
funny.
It's really specific, and it's really funny. He will never, ever admit that. And Michael, this was my first aw of the episode. Michael says, I know, buddy. I know.
Buddy.
And Sean lets a little smile out and then comes back to Stern. And I went, oh, they're friends and they love each other.
So
but
cute.
they're still themselves. And we have the theme song, and then we get the first time jump of the episode. 2,242, Jeremy Bury Me Later. Jason and Janet, they're sharing their homestead and their stupid Nick's wing dump. They wake up in bed together. He asks Janet what time it is, and she's able to say she doesn't know. Man, Janet has a really good episode all over this in all of the plot lines. She says she turned off that ability when the two of them are together. She doesn't get to know everything. She likes it. She sits up and then says, but it's 10:42 a.m. Not knowing something freaked her out. It makes her feel weird. So she turned it back on. She's got to know. When someone asks her a question, she's got to know the answer.
Right.
And Jason says, oh, yeah, I feel weird when I do know the answer to something. You and I are very different. He's getting up to like start his day, and it feels like a couple getting ready for work. But his plan is that he's got to go try and beat his dad one more time. So they kiss and say goodbye, and he heads out of the wing dump. I like how right next to their bed, there's a very prominent ATM that like works as a side table in the wing dump. I thought that was funny.
It's hilarious.
Cut to Jason loosening up in a game chair, and you can immediately tell that he's on the Jaguars field. Do you know where they play, what that stadium would be?
The Jacksonville Stadium is... I don't remember the sponsor now. It's changed over the last... At some point, I think. Because it's not Prudential Field.
I don't know. Well, they're there. And I thought generally... I don't know, being a TV show and saying we're going to be in a packed stadium, that's a big ask, and it's hard to do. And I think generally, other than like the far away shots where they're small and you can tell how they're superimposed in, I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
They did it pretty well. It's really fun to watch Jason have the wish fulfillment of getting to be on the field that he loves so much, but not to play football, to play Madden and to play the perfect game of Madden. Donkey Doug is there as like his Mickey from Rocky, and he's like psyching him up and being like, you got this, bro. And Jason does. He does it. The perfect game of Madden after Donkey Doug says 443,000 tries and the crowd goes crazy. Doug is amazed and excited. Jason is too. I did it. But as you see many times in this episode, without anybody ever saying verbatim, you can see that he's got that, oh, I did it. And am I done? Is that it? And I love how this episode is able to show how that moment is different for so many people. For some people like Chidi, it's traveling everywhere and reading everything. For Jason, it's one goal, and it's a really silly goal, and that's okay.
And that's
I really like that. Yeah, he's a little underwhelmed about completing the game. So cut to him preparing a candlelight dinner for Janet. I also like the use of summoning Janet in this episode, that every time Janet pops in, even Jason, who shares a life with Janet, still says, hey, Janet, and then she pops up. And he's prepared this candlelight dinner for her.
You always make it for me, so this time I wanted to make it, and real talk, it didn't go great. This is spaghetti. Now, I know it looks weird, but I bit off a chunk and actually is pretty bad. Also, I put out the forks and knives the way kings and queens do it. close to the plate.
It's really funny. It looks like IKEA spaghetti or something.
Yeah. And if you bite it, it's pretty bad.
There's nothing really worse than crunchy spaghetti.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
bad.
there are worse things than crunchy spaghetti, but that's a pretty annoying. That's like so Jerry Seinfeld of me. Like go on stage, nothing's worse than when your spaghetti you had in the fridge from last night, you heat it up and it just gets a little crunchy. But that is a pretty bad thing.
Yeah.
It sucks. But Janet immediately knows what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never said. Janet just knows and says, "Uh-oh. Oh, dip."
Oh, dip. That I was done there, Zach. When she said, "Oh, dip," I was like, "Oh, no."
She says it with so much concern and understanding immediately. And I love so many times in this episode when I love a good show don't tell. And in this final episode, they trust that their audience has been keeping up, that we've learned all of these things, that when these big moments hit for the characters, they hit for us too, because we've been with them for so long. And Jason says, yeah, so I need to talk to everyone. And Janet suggests setting something up, but he has a better idea of where to do this. And this is something that makes me more emotional discussing it than watching it. The fact that where he wants to do it is returning to the yogurt shop background of the main season 1 Good Place location.
It just shows how much Jason has grown maturity-wise. I think some of Jason's best moments are when he kind of takes down
when he talks to Chidi in a little bit.
Yeah, it's so good. And it makes me emotional because, like, of all the characters, of course, Jason's the one who, like,
first and is
finds inner peace first and is like, oh, this is that. Okay, I'm ready to go.
But also, of course, there's more to Jason next week.
Of course.
So the gang are walking through a green door to the season 1 Good Place courtyard, and they're surprised by it, that this is the location where they're meeting. And it's fun for them that Jason decided to have them all meet here. I think it's Eleanor who says, you get a hankering for frozen yogurt? But no, he tells them he's leaving. He's going through the door. And the air's sucked out of this little reunion moment. Eleanor asks him if he's sure. He is, and Janet is also clear. Janet being at his side to tell everyone, yes, he's ready. And if you don't trust Jason's opinion, you can trust that Janet has seen Jason have the realization. And we see that Janet is very strict on, well, the whole point of the door is if someone decides they're ready, then it's their time.
Yeah.
And that comes back, of course, but even as a partner here and as the smart one in the room, she's able to convince everyone that, yeah, Jason is ready. If he says he's ready, he's ready. They want to have a farewell party, and they're going to eat and drink and dance together. Michael says, fun. Very sadly. And Jason knows.
Yeah.
He knows they're sad. He says, I know you're sad because you have the same look my teachers had when I raised my hand in class. But he wants us to be happy. He's going to play DJ and play EDM all night. It's going to be the perfect Jason farewell party. And Eleanor, through her sadness, still is sardonic and says, man, now I'm bummed about 2 things to Tahani, because you're going to have to listen to Jason do EDM all night and you're going to lose your best friend forever. That's
I think
really cute.
all of the cast plays this scene so well. The little laughs that they have when people make a joke, but it's still overweighed by sadness, I think is really well portrayed.
It takes me back a little bit, now that we're talking about it that way, to when you moved to Chicago. And I don't know, this might come to a surprise to some people, but there was a point in our friendship where we were so close that I think we had a little bit of healthy dependency with each other, that we we had built a support system. And I remember like probably making little jokes and not feeling any type of like, man, my friend, but feeling like, oh, I'm sad you're leaving. It takes me back to that a little bit when they're leaving and they're going to be gone, and this beautiful time period that is supposed to be temporary is done, and that's beautiful. But there's no way to mask sadness in moments like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I said, how can I get Steven more than I've ever had him before? And here we are, 4 years later. At Jason's party, he's DJing. It's very wild. Another just short cameo, we see young Doug Forsett, who's just absolutely bodying some chicken wings.
Yeah, as he should.
Just a little moment. Doesn't really mean anything, but it just shows They want to put, it's like The Good Place, the movie. They want you to see everybody on screen have their little moment, but not in a way that feels distracting from we're at Jason's goodbye party.
Yeah.
Michael asks Janet, this is a very sweet, small moment, how she's doing. She says she's okay and asks how Michael is. Michael's sad, and he feels the need to tell Janet that it's okay if she is too. And she knows.
That's really
she is a little
sweet.
sad. It is really sweet. She says she's okay, and she knows that Jason's doing what's right for him. And they have this agreement to talk to each other when things get heavy. You know, you can come to me and talk. I know. And the implication is that they will. Yeah. And I really like that. It's very, very sweet and small and beautiful. I love that moment a lot. Jason's got a special treat for the crowd. A Dance Resolution. Apparently they're all dead and in the good place now too. So they're going to tear up the dance floor one last time, and the crowd goes wild. The crowd goes nuts the whole time. Here in a second, I want your dancers' breakdown of their routine. Yeah. My favorite thing from cutting to the crowd was specifically the Joy and Chidi's reactions. I don't know if you noticed that, but a couple times Chidi is just exuberant. He's just like, and I even feel like that is subtle. Like Chidi's still in it. Yeah. And he's so enthralled. And I feel like that's a part of his journey for the rest of the episode.
Absolutely. He's so in it. And Eleanor has like a total face of like, I can't believe they're actually good. And it's so funny.
You say that. We get a pretty long routine.
Yeah.
It's a good minute. Like, and in a sitcom episode, a minute is a long time. How do you feel about Dance Resolution?
I honestly think they do a pretty good job. I mean, I think it's clear that Manny Jacinto is an actor and not like a hip hop dancer. Some of the like sharpness things, but he does a really good job.
He's fit and he can move, and his acting has a lot of physicality already.
Like, I had to watch enough of the routine to be like, okay, no, he doesn't actually have a huge dance background. But like at first, he could have, and I would have believed it.
I thought he did a really good job. Did a good choreography job of building the routine so it spotlights Jason, but also in a way where the rest of the team is doing most of the heavy
more
stuff.
Impressive, crazy shit.
It was kind of smart.
Yeah, very clever.
They tear it up. Then the party fades as Jason's team, after the dance, they hold him up in the air, which is really cute. You really feel the joy. And after the party, Jason, Eleanor, and Chidi are decompressing. Really great scene between these three characters. Starting with Jason saying, "I'll never forget this night. Until I walk through the door and dissolve into the universe." This is when Chidi asks Jason, and it's so subtly moving the needle. Chidi asking Jason, "How did you know when you were ready?" And Jason, because he's so certain, he's able to explain very intelligently how he did. First, seriously, he says, and I think this is beautiful.
Well, it wasn't like I heard a bell ring or anything. I just suddenly had this calm feeling, like the air inside my lungs was the same as the air outside my body. It was peaceful.
Huh? Like, what a beautiful little piece of philosophy.
How profound, yeah.
So profound. And then, of course, because it's Jason, he compares it to the pristine popper temperature. When you just got an order of jalapeno poppers, you can't wait another second to take a bite.
Yeah.
You know it's going to burn your mouth. And then it's like, oh, no, this is hot and not burning my mouth. What a beautiful moment.
It's a dream combo.
Yeah. And Eleanor knows exactly what he means when he says that. Jason, in these last moments, though, he asks them for advice, too. Because he's scared that Janet's going to forget him. And I think it's kind of based that his fear is not that Janet in eternity will find companionship with another person. Yeah. Who could turn down Lara Croft Tomb Raider if she shows up. Or Jason Momoa, I think I could pass up. I'm good.
Depends on what his vibe is. Because if he's like Khal Drogo, Jason Momoa, he can have me. But if it's like Aquaman or Fast and Furious Jason Momoa, absolutely not.
Or like real life Jason Momoa, probably not. You know that he's like a bad guy, apparently, right?
He's a bad guy?
He like would show up to work filming, like piss drunk and like belligerent and stuff.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
But wasn't that just Aquaman?
But still, that doesn't mean
those
he's like
DC movies are
goes
dog
to
shit.
jail. But like if he's a big movie star, that's pretty kind of like similar stuff came out about The Rock recently. That's not.
I heard The Rock was not
that's
great.
not like. It's just that for like a guy whose whole thing is how dedicated and disciplined and on brand you are, to find out that you're kind of a flake, it's a bad look, if not a like fireable offense. It's a like, maybe you're not superhuman.
Yeah.
I don't know. The point of the story is I would not let Jason Momoa fuck me in heaven. That's what I'm trying to say. Jason just doesn't want Janet to forget him. He doesn't care that she has more experiences. He just wants to always be like a presence in herself, and that's really sweet. And a fair fear as you're about to be truly gone forever. So he made her this little...
You had seen Coco and weren't...
J&J necklace. I have seen Coco.
Oh, you have seen... Did you like Coco?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, sure.
You don't sound like you loved it. You just liked it?
Liked it more than Soul, but less than like the A tier Pixar. But it's like B tier Pixar for sure. And I mean,
Coco pretty high.
Yeah, I would have Coco really high of the last 15 years of Pixar. Sure. But I don't know if it touches like
Encanto, right?
the classics. No, I haven't seen Encanto. Not Pixar though.
But fair enough. Coco does a really good job of talking about the fear of being forgotten, and culturally it lays hard into the belief of remembering your ancestors and things like that. But that is a huge fear of like somebody being so important to you and then you not being important enough for them to remember you at some point. I mean, we're young enough that we don't really have to worry about that right away right now.
I don't think anybody's about to forget Zach or Steven.
Yeah. But it is the thing, like over time, it's the Hamilton. What will be my legacy?
Or on the flip side, when you have someone close to you
investing in a fest they never get to
Let me be deep. Let me get deep. Why? Hamilton is like a curse that we can't get away from.
Yeah.
It's like kind of cringy to love Hamilton these days, a little bit, fairly so, because it's been around for so long. And if like a little bit of it is said in conversation, the indoctrination comes out and you have no choice but to start rapping Hamilton at someone. Mm-hmm. It makes everyone really uncomfortable, but it's
I imagine death so much it feels like a memory.
No, when someone close to you dies and the more time apart from them you have, you begin to have the fear that like, do I remember how they looked like, or do I just remember the pictures? And do I remember their voice? Do I remember the conversations we had? Or, like that starts to fade. And for that to be what Jason's worried about makes a lot of sense. And he asks them what they think of his necklace. Chidi says it's lovely, but he says, and Janet's not going to forget you. She literally cannot forget people. But even if she could forget someone, I don't think she's going to forget you. That's something that Eleanor says to Jason.
Yeah, that's
And
sweet.
Jason says thanks. Then we cut to a little bit later. Several familiar faces are kind of eulogizing Jason on stage. First being Donkey Doug, who closes with, "In many ways, Jason raised me just as much as I raised him. So, thanks for being a great dad, son." And then Pillboy, who to me kind of looked Arrested Development Season 4 green screened into the party.
Really?
I thought he looked green screened into the party when he's talking on stage.
I didn't notice that, but...
And maybe he's not, but maybe it's like the saturation or something.
Yeah.
Pillboy shows up to give a speech. He says that Jason was the realest dude ever.
I mean, none of us are real anymore. We're all just Caspers the ghosts and whatnot. Which is funny, because me and Jason ain't even white. Why are all ghosts white? Oh, Dip. Are ghosts racist?
So funny. I love Pillboy.
Just the Jacksonville logic.
Yeah.
That shows in all
Are
of these
ghosts
people.
Racist?
All this to say, he loves Jason. Jason's his hero and best friend, and Admiral Bebop.
Admiral Bebop. Exactly. Gardner Minshew.
The gang dances the night away, as we've seen them do in other moments of celebration, but this one has a little more of a heaviness to it because their friend's leaving. And Michael's doing something weird. I can't even recreate it now, but it was enough for me to write it down, that they're all like dancing, and Michael's like hitting a pose of like his hands and then like resetting and then like hitting it again. And it's really funny.
That's so funny.
I think I'm going to watch both parts together when we do part 2. If you watch part 1 again, watch specifically for what Michael's doing here. It's really funny. Jason looks over at his friends, and then it's just a lovely silent moment, oh man, of Jason and Janet holding each other, watching their friends. And Jason like his like goofy face totally goes away to just a reflection face, and it gives me chills thinking about it. And they don't drop on that because we cut to that peaceful meadow with the peaceful bridge. The sound design here is great. The camera work here is great. And Jason and Janet walk hand in hand. There's that beautiful shot where you're looking up at the trees as they circle around. Mm-hmm. And Janet tells him, and it has so much weight to it because it's her friend, it's her lover, it's her partner, and she's the one who's supposed to tell people these things, that he can sit on the bench provided for as long as he wants. Remember that, for as long as he wants. And to quote the title of the episode, she says, whenever you're ready, you just walk through. I love how, just take your time. Sit in the most peaceful, serene area possible. Listen to the water. Listen to the trees, listen to the air.
I kind of hope that, like, when you die, there is something like that, like, almost like a I don't know, like, of every version of Afterlife I've heard, this bit of it is my thing that I want most to be real.
It's nice. Mm-hmm. He grabs her hand, he tells her he loves her, and that he hopes she has a nice rest of eternity. He reaches for the necklace to give to her and realizes he lost it. Oh, I think I lost it in the magic forest. He wants to go looking for it. You gotta have it. It's the thing for you to remember me by when you're married to Aquaman. But she takes him and says that it's okay. She's never gonna forget him. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. That to her, he'll never be gone. She experiences time differently. And Jason gets it. It's why they work so well together. It's like when I did salvia and tried to brush my teeth with my cat. But no, Janet, to her, remembering moments with him is the same as living in them. And what a beautiful thing to take into your life when you lose people. Remembering moments with someone is the same as having them back with you. Can you just remember the happy times and forget the bad stuff? There was no bad stuff. It was all good.
I remembered that line, like, in the moment, and, like, said it right in line with Janet as I'm crying, and I'm like, oh.
They kiss. Darcy Carden.
Mm-hmm.
End of statement.
Yeah, full stop.
What a wonderful class act actress. I hope that we get to see her do things so much bigger and better than Janet, because she's got the presence, and boy, does she have the fucking chops. She is so talented. She's so funny, and she nails these moments of maturity so well. There was no bad stuff. It was all good. They kiss.
Absolutely. So beautiful.
She steps away. She leaves Jason, and Jason takes his seat at the bench, and that's where we leave him. Cut to 323.6 Jeremy Bearimy later. Nick Offerman, as Nick Offerman, is complimenting Tahani's perfect chair. What do you think of this real life cameo from a real person?
I think
do you
it's
like
funny.
that he shows up?
Nick
It is
Offerman.
funny.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that Tahani's afterlife would be spending people with, like, all the famous people teaching her how to do things. He has nothing left to teach her. They shake hands, and Tahani has Janet pull up her long bucket list. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like her flip side of when she got to, like, sneak and look at the list of all the point totals. Yeah. She can cross off repaving her driveway, too, from the list, because she just did that. And Janet, after doing all this with Jason, but I guess it's been a while, has another big thing to do. Janet lets Tahani know, before you continue with your list, that thing that you asked me to tell you when it happened. Again, excellent showing us, not telling us. You know what she means.
Yeah.
Man, this part of the episode's great, too. Tahani takes it in, because, man, our parents fucked us all up.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with that on Earth is usually the end of the story. This is able to give us what could possibly happen in a world with an afterlife like this without it ever feeling like some form of wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
Because that brings complicated feelings, too.
It's different from when Tahani got to go in the room and give her parents, like, what for, and be like, listen, like this was wrong. This is different because this is her parents actually growing and actually taking a look at
hard-earned growth, too. We don't know how many times they took the test, but they're here because they did it.
Yeah.
So Tahani and Camilla are preparing for a lunch with their parents. I'm just going to say show not tell 100,000 times.
Yeah.
The relationship between Tahani and Camilla is shown without telling us. like, they don't need to make a whole meal out of it because they show in their actions and they show in how gentle they are with each other and how complimentary they are with each other.
Broken down now. So good.
So they prepare for a meal with their parents and they discuss whether they're going to be different or not. Tahani mentions that she had only really shared a meal with her family from behind their chairs while they ate lobster with Oscar de la Renta, which is a funny line in a Tahani name drop, but that's fucking sad.
That's really depressing.
You're not invited to the table with your family. You have to like watch them have dinners. That's sad.
Yeah.
So Camilla tells her she's right there and they're going to get through it together. Just then their parents step up. The sisters begin like their guarded greeting to their parents, and they rush in with hugs and apologies and declarations of love, calling them like their little girls and we love you so much. And while they're hugging them, Tahani and Camilla like look at each other like, it's heavy. In real life too. Like, you think of conversations with your parents a lot, and then sometimes they happen, and usually not the way that you hope they would end up. And then when they do end up the way that you hoped, there's still a weird, like, empty feeling like, well, then why was my, like, childhood still broken if this was possible? You know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. So the family spend time together. They play croquet. They stroll the neighborhood and chat like the high society. They get to have their high society life. They watch Home Alone in a home theater together, which is my fucking dream. My genuine dream. I have many, but if I ever get to own a house, I wanted to have a basement, and I want to spend so much money that once you go downstairs, it's a totally soundproofed, like,
that'd be really freaking cool.
A completely working, has all the sound, has the screen.
Hey, that'll
movie
make
theater,
me visit.
Projector, seats. You can get like home theater seats that are really cool. I want it to be like complete. The only thing that makes it different from a movie theater is how many seats there are and how big it is.
And you don't need that many. I mean, you would probably do what, 10? 15 max?
You could probably even start the project with less.
Yeah, you could start with 4 to 6 and be fine.
Yeah, that's my dream.
Get a 20. Imagine you have a 24-seat theater in your fucking basement, Zach. That'd be sick.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of my dreams.
Yeah.
If I get to like own a house and do whatever I want to it. Some people want to like build like a basketball court or like an outdoor kitchen or like an indoor pool if they have like this crazy mansion life. I don't need a crazy mansion life. I'd like a big enough basement and a good enough soundproofing to make a genuine movie theater. I would love that.
You can have Doolittle on loop for days at a time.
All of them. The Doolittle Festival.
Yeah, just
all the do, none of the little. We're doing it all from the beginning. Tahani steps in as Camilla's painting with the millionth teddy bear and apology flowers from mom and dad. You'd think they'd understand we can get these things if we wanted to. It's a really quiet, nice moment of support when Tahani says to Camilla, hey, great painting. And Camilla's like, oh, thanks. That there's no like, well, I can't say her stuff is good.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to have airs about it. There's no guard up. She's like, oh, yeah, great work. Cool, thank you. Enjoying it.
Like, Tahani actually gets to appreciate her sister's abilities for the first time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's why, like, this goes by faster than the Jason one, but it's very, very packed with detail. They're not rushing through Tahani to get to other stuff. They've thought it all out.
Yeah.
Camilla then talks about how, weirdly, their parents have gone from annoying to annoying with all of their love. That's become an annoyance. Tahani takes up the bear and holds it and agrees and looks at it and says, well, isn't that something? And that's when Tahani knows that it's her time to move on. So Tahani gathers her friends, says that it might not come as a surprise to anyone, but she's ready to go. Michael says, oh, nuts, I knew it, knowing that that's why we're being called. Because I guess maybe at this point, they're not all called to gather together like
not
that.
Every day, yeah.
Like formally for a meeting, unless it would, there's nothing to do but announce they're leaving. Chidi's amazed that she finished her list, but she did. She did every single thing and lists all of her things. The one I didn't know, what's a perfect backhand slice?
That's
Is that
in
swimming?
tennis.
I should know this. I just saw Challengers. I learned a lot about tennis.
A slice is where you like hit it. If this is the racket, and this is the ball, you would hit it like this. I think to put backspin on it.
Sure,
and it doesn't go
that makes
very
sense.
high, and it'll like I think
that sounds really tough, even if you're good at tennis.
Yeah, because like a forward slice is a little easier because you just chop, but a back one's got to be tricky. I'm not a tennis expert, but that's got to be one of the harder.
It sounds tough.
Yeah.
Tennis is a sport that kind of similar to my I'd like to skate or go ice skating, but I really want a safe, quiet place to do it first.
Yeah.
I think if I don't have the motivation for like 6 months of getting good enough just to play a okay game of tennis with an okay tennis player. I don't have that, but I feel like that would be one of the games that's really fun to have in your arsenal because you can just grab a buddy and go play tennis.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Tennis is cool.
You want to teach me how to play tennis?
I'm not good at tennis. I
Tennis
hit it
the
too hard.
Menace. That's our team name.
Yeah. I hit it too hard because I was never taught, and so I can't play tennis very well.
Give me your best sexy tennis grunt. I couldn't hear it, but I can't wait to zoom out the audio track back to hear it. No, yeah, zoom filters it out. Each one. Nothing. Nope. I got that one a little bit. Yeah, now we're getting it. Oh yeah. Don't stop. Give me a couple more. I'm this close. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Oh.
Tahani's last goal was getting the chance to spend one meaningful day with her parents.
Bad.
Oh my god. This is like
I've
one
never
of the
tried
worst.
Jennifer Coolidge before. That was my first
That wasn't
time.
bad. It was okay.
Thanks.
But this is one of the worst like turns from silly to serious type podcast episodes we could have because it's like
because now
Tahani's last goal was spending one meaningful day with her parents, which once felt like this unattainable goal that she would never reach, and now she spent thousands and she feels fully complete. Janet asks if she'd like a farewell party, and of course, because it's Tahani, she's already completely planned it, prepped it, cooked everything, which both is so true to her character and so true to the conclusion for her character that we're getting close to. She did everything for the party, including training animals. So we get one last CGI oddity when a panda walks up to offer Eleanor some champagne. Tahani's already told all of her loved ones, you know, her parents, Ben and Jerry, the ice cream boys, telling them that she's ready to leave. They all took it very hard. And tonight she just wants to be with her core. She just wants to be with those people. Later on, Tahani overlooks her party as Eleanor steps up to make a joke about her risotto, trying to say that it's sticky, but it wasn't. It wasn't sticky at all. She just wants Tahani to stay. What one of the most beautiful, subtle relationships of the show Tahani and Eleanor have been.
Yeah, so good.
And this scene doesn't make me cry because Tahani and Eleanor haven't been afraid to tell each other how they feel about each other and how inspired they are by each other for a long time. So it just feels right, and it just feels beautiful.
Can I tell you something? You're my role model.
Come on.
I'm serious.
Babe, you were already the most impressive person I ever met, and now you can do literally everything.
If that's true, it's because you inspired me. I admire you so very much. Your strength, your toughness, your self-esteem, not to mention, you have a rockin' bod.
Did you just turn the tables on me? I got nothing left to teach you.
Janet.
Hi there.
One more goal to add to the list, please. Now cross it off.
That's great.
Eleanor brings Tahani in and they share a big hug, and it's very nice. John runs into this room. Is it? No, is that Chidi's place? That room that John runs into?
Yes, it is Chidi's place.
Yeah. I like this moment that we get just a second of John running in to say goodbye to Tahani and to dish one last time that he hooked up with Alexander the Great.
More like Alexander the Fine.
That is really funny. He tells her that he loves her so much.
Do you think it was because of his abilities as a lovemaker or because of the rampant STDs that killed him?
No, I think John would have said that no matter what. Like, he's like, oh, Alexander the Great, how can I spin this into a headline? Like, from the beginning. And I love the genuine love that Tahani and John share for each other this time. I like that the show doesn't forget about a character like John. He runs in to say goodbye to Tahani and runs off. Michael admires Tahani's knowledge. He only knows how to be an architect. He can't be like a jack of all trades in the way that Tahani is. He can't even learn how to play the guitar. He just mastered Hey There, Delilah. I made a YouTube video of me singing Hey There, Delilah to my first girlfriend in freshman year of high school.
Wait. Okay, question.
Yes.
Is the YouTube video you singing it and it's dedicated to her?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that
I
you were
changed the
implying
words.
that it was like a video of you singing it to her.
No, it was a video of me sitting in front of my computer, much like I am right now, with my, what was it, the, like, children's brand webcams. They were called, like, Digital Blue or something like that.
Nice.
With one of those pointed at me with the karaoke video
those
of
automatically
Hey There,
blur the
Delilah
dongs?
playing over the speakers. No, you would hope. Omegle was very much still free reign.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think that's still up on the internet, but have a heyday, folks. Go find my nightmare.
Did you change the name?
I don't know.
Hey There. Their name wouldn't really
I
work.
thought you meant of like the YouTube channel. You meant in the song. No, I just sang the song.
That's cute. Did you start by saying, "Baby, this is for you"?
Yeah, shout out to Daisy Ray.
Oh, it was her?
Yes.
That's funny. I was
It's
thinking
funny.
it was the other one.
It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Please recant your romantic history
I know
right
who you're
now.
talking about now. That was fine.
Yeah. Oh, it's what you do to me.
That's going to be the song at the end of the episode
It's
for sure.
what you do to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, it should be.
Tahani is jealous of Michael in a similar way that Michael is jealous of her, because Tahani feels that Michael is doing the best at something that she's not even able or allowed to do at being an architect. And she should know because Frank Gehry is her godfather, Jerry, or I don't know that architect, do you?
Frank Gehry, I think.
Yeah. She smiles and is able to laugh at herself when everybody like finishes the name drop for her. It's very, very sweet. Eleanor tells Tahani that she's going to miss her, but like Tahani and Michael are talking through a look.
Yeah.
They're like making eye contact and something's brewing.
Wait. I don't want to leave.
Great. Then stay. New party, everyone. A staying party.
No, I also don't want to stay. I'm done here, but I don't want to go there.
It's kind of your only options.
No, they aren't. I want to learn to do what you do, Michael. I want to be an architect, design afterlives.
Tahani, you're a wonderful person, but you're a person. It's impossible.
Nonsense. I can learn, just like I learned all this other stuff. I've spent most of my life pretending to help people. If I were an architect, I could do it for real. Let me at least try. Don't make me talk to your manager.
And Chidi lets out a ooh, and like the gang is in, and Michael's in, and Tahani's gonna try to be an architect. I think it's the perfect, unexpected, makes complete sense direction for her character to go in. 100%. When I first saw the finale, I was like, yeah, of course. Never would have thought of that.
That makes sense.
So much sense.
Mm-hmm. And I had like kind of forgotten that that's.
Oh, really?
Where it went? Yeah. And I very, very happy with that route.
So Tahani and Michael approach the doorman. Now he has even more frogs. This is my favorite doorman bit. Michael says, kind of getting in over your head, huh? And the doorman just says, yeah, I love frogs though, so it's awesome.
That's how I feel every month when my Japanese
Anime
subscription box comes. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I gotta cancel this thing. I'm like, but I did just get another figure.
Toss it on the pile.
Yeah.
In the architect design building, we hear a glimpse. I think this is a great cameo.
Mm-hmm. This is maybe my favorite of the episode.
But hang on. So you can never tell a woman to smile? What if she'd legitimately be prettier if she smiled? Aren't I helping her?
Bren is perpetually in his test.
Mm-hmm.
He has not passed his test. He's being tested. He's like in an interrogation room, not understanding why he can't tell a woman to smile.
Because he's at the in-between part now where they like give him a breakdown of why he didn't pass and let him restart.
Right.
And he's like,
yes.
What do you mean I can't do that? Like, and it's so funny.
It's so good. Showing, not telling. It tells us everything we need to know about what happened to that character. It makes perfect sense, and it takes so little time, and it tells such a complete story. It's really, really well done. Michael introduces Glenn and Beatty to the new intern, Tahani, who is complete with her like teal green pantsuit, which looks very nice on her. Glenn, a nice little positive Glenn moment. He's ecstatic to see her, apologizes for the time he exploded into goo, if anything had ever gotten on her, any goo, and it did. But she says it's all goo under the bridge now. We're good. And she is really here as a student. She's very humble for the Tahani Al-Jamil we've always known. She can go up to people like Glenn and be like, teach me everything you know. I want to start from the bottom and earn my way up.
Yeah.
Starting with, can I be the one to get people coffee or antimatter? That's how committed. She's like, I'll be an unpaid intern. I'll do stupid stuff. I want to learn.
Yeah.
She looks back at Michael. This episode is probably my favorite Michael and Tahani connection and storyline and understanding of one another from the entire series. It's really good.
And they have a few good moments, but this is like, they're the two that have the most ambition. And that's something they can relate
and butt heads on too when Michael was trying to puppet string everything. Tahani thanks Michael for everything, and Michael brought her a first day gift for the new job, and it's a bow tie just like him, but cute. A peacock with a little bit of Tahani style.
Yeah, that's really cute.
He says, I hope when you're a big deal around here, you don't mind my saying that I knew you. And Tahani, so cute, so sweet, so self-aware at this point, is able to say, oh, well, name dropping's a little gauche, Michael, don't you think? But do as you must. And they smile really. I love all the smiling, all of the supporting friends, all of the earned cathartic moments. They smile and Michael walks off into our next, and for part 1, final time jump to 661.7 Jeremy Bury Me Later, where Eleanor is finally, after thousands and thousands of years, finishing up reading What We Owe to Each Other, and she's very proud of herself.
I love it.
Chidi congratulates Eleanor, and he says, guess what I'm reading? The Da Vinci Code, which, when we were kids, okay, so I was at a Christian school. The Da Vinci Code, you didn't talk about it. It was like, this is really popular, but Christians don't like it because it like makes up weird backstories to Jesus stuff. But it's a novel. Who cares, you know?
Yeah.
There were crazy people that believed the shit and it was true, but it was always just a novel.
Yeah,
so
I read the Da
it's
Vinci
funny.
Code. It's good.
Really? I haven't read it or seen it.
I've read the Da Vinci Code, and then I saw the movie, and I was entertained by it at the age that I was when those things were coming out.
But the general consensus is that they're pulpy, garbagey, kind of, right?
Yeah. Well, what the fuck is what's the thing? Symbologist?
Symbologist, yes. What is that?
Like a symbologist. You study symbols.
Oh, I thought it was with a Z.
No, it's an S.
Like,
that's
like
his
you
job.
Study alien invaders, a zymbologist.
No, he literally is a symbologist in the book.
After 1,000 lifetimes of reading the most difficult writings in the world, I've acquired a new passion. Garbage books. Hey, do you think I would have been a good symbologist if that were a real job?
His delivery, though, in this, the process of what happens to Chidi in this episode, it's so good. Like, how are they, even though this episode's 55 minutes long, how are they able to tell... A lot of these stories weren't really started before this episode.
No.
And it does not feel at all rushed as Chidi slowly but steadily gets into being ready to leave, and that being a crisis for Eleanor. Because here he's still in. He's in on being lazy. He's in on reading garbage. It's like, do you think I would have been good at that if that were a real job? But it's definitely the beginning of the end of what he has to do here. But Eleanor tells him here, you know, that's really cute. You would have been good at that. And they've got to go to make it to dinner. They have a dinner with a lot of familiar faces. We've got Simone. We've got 2 or 3 of Eleanor's friends. And Uzo is there as well.
At least one of her friends and her mom.
Oh, it's her mom, yes. They appear so similar in age that I kind of forgot that out of context. Yeah. But they get to share a meal with these people. It really proves your point of your friends that you have problems with. But they're fine. They figured it out, and they're here now. And they all get to have this meal. And Eleanor's friends are still totally the worst, even in their best form. One of them has this idea to make a karaoke room that's also a tanning bed. And the other one comes in and says, oh, yeah, the harder you commit to the song, the tanner you get. Eleanor loves that her friends haven't changed that much. Simone, they're in Tahani's restaurant, the Tahani's Perfect Pizza Palace. And Simone is able to compliment Tahani on how good her restaurant and her food is compared to how she was putting jewelry in a vending machine or something when they met on Earth. Simone's a little underserved.
A little bit. Because Simone was such a big part of this show, and she kind of doesn't get the... I don't know.
You're right.
Yeah.
That... And her one-liner compared to everyone else's that feels very true to their characters. It feels like we don't quite get that for Simone. Maybe she has one more line in the second half. I don't know. It was about Tahani, not her.
This is not to beat a dead horse, Zach.
Oh, man. That's okay. Beat it.
She doesn't get enough credit for the credit she gave us.
You gotta don't tell me. I know that's from something. I'm gonna come up with it. It doesn't get enough credit for the credit. It's Hamilton again. We're back at Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hamilton wrote the other 51.
That was really good.
You think that I can't pitch perfectly deliver the entirety of the musical Hamilton? You haven't lived until you've heard me perform one last time in the passenger seat of my 2005 Chevrolet Colorado.
I have. We have shared a lot of moments in the passenger seat of your 2005 Chevy Colorado.
That's funny. Chidi wants to get dessert, and he says they should order the tiramisu, which prompts Uzu's line, his little moment, is that he can't believe that he lived to see such a decisive Chidi. Oh, I guess I didn't. And then the most like Twin Peaksy moment of the episode, the most like surreal, is they're all like, "Oh yeah, because we're all dead," and they all start laughing and toasting each other. It's like dark, funny.
Yeah.
Then the party's over, and Eleanor and Chidi at the restaurant at the bar share a glass of wine together after dinner, talking about the night, and Eleanor saying she had a lot of fun. And this is when Chidi really starts beginning to appear a little bored, a little hesitant. You know, Eleanor mentions having coffee with her mom, and that she finally learned how to say Chidi's last name. And Chidi's like, yeah, we all talked about that last time. We've joked about that. I've been present for that. Oh, yeah. This is really smart.
Mm-hmm.
The next line is Chidi saying Shakespeare went through the door. And it shows exactly what Chidi's thinking about.
Yeah.
In this moment, in that beat of silence. He's not going to bring it up to his partner yet.
It's so fucking smart. Because that's exactly what you do. She's like, hey, you know, like... It's like, Zach, when I was trying to bring up the idea...
Did you know that there are actually Applebee's with swinger nights where you go and leave your keys and you leave with someone else's wife?
That's exactly where I was going. I was like, when I wanted to add a third, and I was like, hey, you know, the couple across the hall, they've been doing threesomes.
Apparently that's the thing people do. I would never do it, but
I guess it's... Yeah,
this is just like a thing that people do. I don't want to be like.
I mean, I've got the bag boy from Payless right outside. If you want me to call him in, I can tell him to go, but he's here.
This episode of The Good Place, in an emotional context, asks the same of its audience as a show like Arrested Development that wants you to remember the jokes from 20 episodes ago, which is why this one's funny and it's not out of context because they have faith in the audience and in the show that you're going to go watch all of it and that you're going to know this stuff. And I like that they have so much faith that they act that out during the show, that we have this episode, that all of these moments sing so much because we feel like we're catching things. And they're written so well that you can't miss them, but you're not yelled at about them. I really love that moment of, yeah, we talked about that last time. Yeah, it was fun. Did you hear Shakespeare went through the door? Oh, really? And Eleanor is not quite picking up on all the cues, but is like, oh, really? Yeah, his new plays weren't as good as the old ones. And then it's silent again after they laugh about The Tempest 2. And Chidi's ready to go home. You know, it's we can do whatever, but don't you just kind of just want to go, like, be done?
Yeah.
Don't you want to just go like relax and be finished and just I'm tired? And Eleanor agrees, so they start to get up, and then when Chidi's out of frame, Eleanor's face changes when he's not facing her. And together they go through the green door and they make it home. And she says, "You know what? I think I'm just going to get ready for bed. I think I just want to lay down. I'm just tired." And he's just done. Like again, he's just he's finished. So Eleanor says, okay, yeah, no big deal. I'm going to go on a stroll. Turns around in full panic mode through the green door and into Michael's office.
One shot starts, right?
Yes. The tracking into Michael's office. However the fuck... Oh, I mean, I guess... I don't know. Do you think they, when filming this, because sets are malleable and you can like take a whole set and be like, let's move it next to that other set, do you think they put these two rooms next to each other to achieve this transition?
I don't think so, though, because they're in the house set... Which the direction she walked wouldn't make sense to go directly into Michael's office. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. It's like a total other plane of existence, but they're able to make it look effortlessly walking through a door. It's a really great effect, and they use it really well. Because, you know, something like... Sorry, I know every time I say because, you're like, I don't know how many more becauses we have left in this episode.
Zach, I was honestly looking down at the broken toothpick I have down here.
to tell long it's been.
If I look up there and do this, that's how you know I'm looking at the time. I'll do like I do at work, where I go like this, where it's time for my staff to wrap up their lessons.
That's for the best. I forget my because. Mm-hmm. That's going to be me and my game show job when I only have an hour to do the game, but then I'm going to be like, okay, but another thing though, because that's actually really important, because if you know about this, what you need to know is about this. And they're all like, this kid hasn't been diagnosed with autism?
Like, he walked in on his toes, but I thought maybe he was just, a dancer.
It's really smart. It's really subtle how they do all of this. I really love it. And the one shot, it's really excellent. Eleanor walks through the door to meet with Michael, who's still lackadaisically writing song lyrics about psychedelic stardust and Moonbeam Banana.
Moonbeam Banana.
No, you've got to have a bigger... that's a reveal. I need you to act bigger than that. Because earlier in the episode when I said it, you were so lost. I said it's going to pay off huge. It's up to you to let it pay off huge right in this moment.
Wow!
No, wait. No,
that's
where... cut. Wrapping it up. Doing my wrapping it up finger.
Yeah.
We're going to do another read.
Uh-huh.
Beginning with me.
Yeah, it should start with you.
Yes, always. So Michael's still writing a song. He's still practicing his song. And he's singing about psychedelic stardust and...
Wait a minute.
Can you fucking let me... and Moonbeam Banana.
Oh, Moonbeam Banana's there! Oh, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I forgot that. Sorry, I was distracted by the camera work. Didn't hear any words.
For the second week in a row, when I did that just then, yelled Moonbeam Banana that last time, it asked me if I was playing music. Apparently, Zoom thinks me saying Moonbeam Banana like that is the Doug theme song.
Do 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 do.
No.
I'm up here.
Eleanor cuts off Michael and says that she's worried that Chidi's going to leave. He hasn't said that he's ready, but she can tell that he's getting close. And this is when Eleanor's going to Eleanor. And this is her last problem in this perfect utopia when... I mean, Chidi's the reason, Chidi's been the reason this whole time. And all that other stuff happened, I fully realized. But without, Chidi, what am I?
What's the point? Yeah.
Yeah. And Eleanor's going into spiral mode, how she does. Sometimes for the better. When we've got to pick up a solution. We only have this time, but we're just going to do it. Now it's my soulmate is finished with his existence, but I cannot allow that. So how can I manipulate the universe into keeping him here? It's a really great conflict for this last episode. It's different than a series finale, and I really like it. And I said it maybe a few months ago that I think this is one of the most intense conflicts of their entire relationship. Even more than him it is, even more than him. There's no promise of him coming back.
Yeah. If anything, there's a promise of him not.
We'll talk about this a lot next week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But how can you be told by your partner who you share everything with, I'm finished, I've gotten everything I need, and I'm ready to move on? How can you hear that and in no part of your brain is there a hint of dejection? Even in this world where that's what we're all building towards if we decide to, how could you ever hear that from the person that you love with all of your heart, wanting to give them full honesty and just still having a twinge of what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?
Zach, one of my legitimate fears in life, and this is going to sound stupid because I'm 26, almost 27, but is Danny and I growing old and one of us dying first? That's such a real fear that I have.
That is the truth of being in a relationship and finding your life partner.
Now, Zach, I know you and I will die simultaneously in a glorious
Thelma Louise going
fire.
Off a cliff in a 2005 Chevrolet Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely ass to mouth, both of us.
Belting Hamilton.
Yeah, into each other's.
No, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Not the whole point, but when you're young, you never have to feel alone again.
Yeah.
When you find your partner. And then is there any more alone feeling? We've all seen it. It's dark, but I've said about my grandparents, I wish for them, as old as they are, that they would be able to go together because I'm prepared for old people passing away. I'm not prepared for, I would be probably more involved in the grandparent that's still around than I was before to make sure they're okay. That's going to be so much harder for me to be around than the loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just hard.
I agree.
So I will be murdering both my grandparents. Let's move on.
Yeah, you gotta just take a pillow, end it all.
Eleanor needs to keep him here, and her go-to ideas are really funny.
Janet? Hi there. Hi. I think Chidi's almost ready to walk through the door, and I need to keep him here. So, can you make me a bed shaped like a giant highlighter and like a sexy, edible valedictorian robe?
And I'm laughing and listening, people. Yeah. I'm listening. Michael thinks that this calls for something more spiritual. And Eleanor's comeback, this might be my funniest line in the episode. He says, but if I get this right, my man's going to be seeing God. Know what I mean? Wait, what do you mean? When he says spiritual, like if I get this right, my man's going to be seeing God. You know what I mean? Wait, what do you mean? Janet interrupts them and tells Eleanor, if Chidi's ready, then it's his time to go. Period. But Janet's there as a servant. She's their friend, but she also has a job in this place. And Eleanor says he didn't say that yet. We're in a Chidi gray area. And Michael also is going back into bad habits and is spitballing, well, we've got to remind him what's great about the place. And Janet is clearly behind them like, what are you doing here, guys? Come on. He says to take Chidi to the first place they all visited together the first month they were all together. And we don't know what that is yet. Eleanor asked Janet to set the scene and to restore it to exactly how it was when Chidi was first there in college. Pack the edible valedictorian robe just in case it might come up. That might really seal the deal at the end.
Yeah.
Janet sets it up and Eleanor walks through the green door to Chidi, who's drinking a glass of water, and he's in his t-shirt and pajamas, and he's done. Let the man
just
die.
Wants to go to bed.
But Eleanor springs a surprise trip. And Chidi is so honest and open now that he doesn't see anything in that. He isn't even fully clear where he's at, even though his partner can see it. He says, okay, really? Are you sure now? And she says, yep, nope, don't change your clothes. Let the door do it. And he says, okay, let's do it. And they walk through. And it's Greece. And it's beautiful. And they have a beautiful moment together. But there's this unmistakable twinge now of
it's a twinge. It's exactly what it is.
Eleanor's, what's the word I'm looking for? Eleanor's just got this energy, this intense energy of like keeping the party going. I don't know the word I'm looking for.
It's this
desperation
to make everything perfect to the point that Chidi finds his lust for life again.
And it is beautiful. And she prompts Chidi this is cute. Tell me everything you know about this place, because if I'm being honest, I didn't really listen the first time. And he laughs and is like, well, okay, we're in this great area and the beginnings of democracy were right here on this stage that's over there. And we're in this beautiful place, this wonderful place in Greece. And Eleanor asks him to show her where the big brains hung out. So they visit the Agora, the Avengers for super thinkers. And the role that these characters play in this universe, it makes sense that this is like culminating. It makes sense why they chose this to be the literal place that they, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like there's importance to the place, to these characters and the role they play in their world. Eleanor laughs and Chidi thinks she's teasing him, but she loves how happy he is. And then Eleanor goes on and makes a joke that, when I picture ancient Greece people, they're all really hot. Aristotle is like John Stamos with a beard. And then we see why they connect with each other, because that's totally how Chidi pictured it too. John Stamos with a beard.
I love it.
Beach Boy, official Beach Boy John Stamos.
Wow.
Did you know that? That he's toured with the Beach Boys since the 90s?
That's kind of cool.
But like with the Mike Love, do you know why Mike Love is bad? Like with the Brian Wilson-less shell of the Beach Boys that's run by a ultra-conservative guy.
Boo.
Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh. Let's see if I get the zoom for this one. We'll take you to Bermuda, Bahama. I guess it already has the setup professionally. Key Largo, Montego, baby, water. Thank you. They're fast and then we'll make it slow. They share a high five over sharing the same view. They look at the ruins. It's really quiet. Was this on location?
It looks like it.
Those shots of them walking and it's from afar and they're holding hands are really meaningful. Like how empty the space is.
Like, I can't believe that they were able to fucking rent out the fucking Parthenon for.
That's why I'm saying, is this
filming.
real, or is this
That's
maybe
crazy.
There are places where they've recreated this for film in past that they're able to
I don't
visit?
know. It looks pretty real from my picture book knowledge.
They look at the ruins, they hold hands, and they just walk together. Now we're to the end of part 1. This is where we're going to wrap things up, folks. Eleanor and Chidi are walking through the streets of Athens, and Eleanor asks him about the pastry they're eating. A kalori. I didn't Google what it is. Do you know what it is? It looks like a soft pretzel.
Kind of like
more like a pretzel, like
donut.
a churro? Like
It
a
looks,
sweet thing?
Yeah, like a churro type thing. Because a churro is basically just a long donut. Like, same kind of dough.
The film Challengers...
Uh-huh. Somebody fuck a churro?
No, but that director is really... He's a really sensual director. And he's able to take, like, with the peach, as, like, weird of a scene that is in Call Me By Your Name, he's able to take, like, taste and smell in a way into his films in a way that usually you only get sight and sound.
Yeah.
He's able to make you, like, taste what a juicy peach tastes like, and
nice.
You know what I mean? Like, and to hear it and to feel it. And in Challengers, they use food really well. And there's a scene where the two boys are like, the way that they handle food, they're both eating churros, and the way that they're like in each other's space and the way that they like eat the churros, it's like sexual and it's very like visceral. Yeah. Kalori. I'd love to viscerally, sensually share a kalori.
Yeah. I'm not really into twinks like that, so I don't know how into the guys I'll be, but you know, there's not my type of traditional guy, but hey, maybe it'll awaken something in me.
I mean, I am not straight, but it's not so much the guys themselves that attract me. It's they just made a sexy movie and it's hot. And
I'm excited. Are you gonna start watching tennis now?
No, but I'll watch this movie and masturbate.
There we go.
No, but like if you watch the movie as a completely straight person with an open mind, I think you'll watch the part where the two dudes kiss each other and you'll be like, all right, I can't deny that that's hot.
Hey, what can I say?
Glory.
I like to picture a young Chidi Anagonye here, reading, nerding out, treating himself to a kaluri if he had an astute insight into Aristotelian virtue ethics.
That is accurate. That is an accurate picture of 20-year-old me. This was so special. Thank you. Should we head home?
He's ready to go home. And that doesn't discount how great it was.
No.
But it also doesn't prove what Eleanor's trying to prove.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this. I've been here. I've done this. This was great. On to the next thing. Let's go home. I'm ready to go home. And Eleanor can't let that happen and really starts to spiral as part 1 comes to a close. And she improvises, wait, well, no, there's more special trip. She summons Janet, who is not in on this at all, but has to play along because it's what's asked of her in this moment. And I noticed how when Janet pops up, she asks Chidi, are you enjoying your trip? And Eleanor is the one that answers.
Yeah.
She doesn't let Chidi speak. She says, it's not over yet. We're ready to head to destination number 2, remember? Janet says, yeah, of course, sure. Clearly improvising, not in on destination number 2. And they pass through a green door to destination number 2. And that's where we're going to close part 1. Before we dive deep into the relationship drama at the core of part 2, which I'm very excited and kind of nervous to get into, because now after talking through part 1, this was all of the like, aw, and like light and funny and sweet and look at all the familiar faces. And then like next week it's done. We've got 25 minutes of good places left. They're gonna crush us. Steven, you didn't think there was going to be a lot to talk about in part 1, and I thought there was. How do you feel now that we've talked about it?
Well, I mean, clearly there was a lot of stuff. It's funny because Jason's storyline is the one that hits me the hardest in this half. And I love where it goes in part 2, but I think this is... I don't know. I almost think this could stand alone as its own episode. It's not a complete story, but it's just so good. It's just so good.
It's very satisfying from beginning to end. I think the main argument against this being part 1 is because there's no clear drop-off. The transition from where we pick to end goes right into the next thing. We could have stopped it a little earlier. We could have stopped it a little later. That was just our creative decision of where to ramp up this recap into. This is one thing. It feels like The Good Place, the movie.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, could you imagine? It would not be doing part 2 service if we did an hour and a half on part 1 and then tried to keep going for another hour and a half into part 2.
Yeah.
We need our fresh eyes and our passion back next week. And I'm glad that we also had that energy to put into part 1, because I do think there's a lot.
Exactly.
And even if the Jason storyline gets the tears early and the rest of it doesn't quite do that, I think we proved that the Tahani plotline
just as strong.
And the Eleanor Chidi stuff, it's packed with just as much detail too. It's just as strong and it's just as important to the story and to these characters. And I feel more satisfied by it than I was when we started.
Yeah, I agree.
You just you glanced at the clock that time. That was a clock.
Oh, I looked at the clock that time.
So the last thing for us to do in our part 1 recap is we're going to give part 1 its own good place, bad place.
Absolutely.
I never think about it that hard.
I had a pretty
in
easy
the
time
episode
for this
discussion.
one.
So let's start with the bad place. Let's let you kick it off while I scramble to make an answer as always.
It's Eleanor for me this week. I think that, Michael enables, but everyone else is kind of fully realized. And even though Eleanor is too, she is now showing signs of selfishness, which it doesn't take a lot to get a bad place tick these days because everyone's doing so well.
Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for Eleanor for me. Is the selfishness of, instead of letting Chidi come to the realization on his own that he was ready, she sees early signs and tries to prolong that for her benefit.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer. I think where we're at in the show, I don't want to give it to Eleanor. And I think I have a good answer for my bad place that's like a character who's in it for 2 seconds. I'm going to give my bad place to the judge.
For being willing to take out humanity because of
it's one thing
Sure.
to put off the decision and the hearing because she's binge watching a show. It's different. That, like, she didn't do it, but coming that close to wiping out 2% of civilization just because of one thing from a show shows that she is not capable or qualified to be the judge anymore, because she can be so dramatically swayed by nothing. That's not
a pretty good argument,
impartial.
Zach,
that came to me. Yeah, that it's off of one line, but I think that's pretty fucking bad universe wide.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Now, what about The Good Place? Who goes to The Good Place for you?
I had a pretty
know
easy
who
time
is.
with that too. I will give honorable mentions to Jason and Tahani because I think they both have great episodes and are great in them. Honorable mention for Chidi because he's just such a
Oh, then I don't know who
boy.
you're going with.
It's Janet this week, man. Janet was there for Jason. She was there for Tahani. Michael helps Tahani a little more, but I think that that even Janet trying to be the voice of reason here for Michael and Eleanor and being like, listen, like, you got to let Chidi do his thing. But her facilitating all the things that she does in this episode, and I think especially her words to Jason, knowing exactly what to say that'll mean the most to him, is untouchable for me. So it's Janet this week for me.
Well said. Again, I'm gonna go a little deeper, because there's a battle for the good place this time. We're in the good place. All of these people have earned their spot, so it's not like they've all done great things. Who do I think did all the good and just good? I think it's Tahani.
Tahani was probably my second pick this week.
The reason I hold back Jason is my second. But he's just simple and he's flighty, and without people like Janet to assure him, he would run through the door just cause, not really real. You know what I mean? I could see another version of it where he just like yells Bortles and runs through the door and apparates, and that would have been fine. Michael, I don't want to give it to him because he's a little lazy. He's not doing anything wrong, but Tahani has become her full realized self, has become fully realized to the ending, and still is asking herself, what can I give? I have more to give, and how can I give, and what can I give? So I'm going to give it to Tahani.
Great choice.
Yeah, and that's the end of our 2-hour recap of The Good Place's penultimate half, It's the beginning of the end, and as we haven't been emotionally ready to let go of The Good Place, I think this part 1 recap, helped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love this show. I want to start closing this episode by saying, first and foremost, Stephen Baker, I love you so much. I love the time that we spend together. I love I love our friendship. I love the conversation we were having before we started recording. I love all the conversations we have while we're recording. How lucky am I that we're both so busy and I get to spend 3 hours with you talking about how The Good Place is a comfort. Talking to you is a comfort. Spending time with you is a comfort. So first of all, I love you. Second of all, any of you listening, a similar love. I feel that you are fueling us we wouldn't do this if people weren't listening like this. We wouldn't be doing this 4 years later. And you guys are literally improving my personal mental health by listening to this show and giving me a reason to keep spending time with one of my favorite people. One of the people that I could be in a bad mood and then we talk and laugh and I'm in a better mood at the end of it. So thank you, Steven. Thank you, people. Thank you, thank you, The Good Place, the people that created one of the most infallible sitcoms of all time. I think when it comes Community versus Good Place, Community has a bigger place in my heart. But The Good Place is better? Question mark?
No question.
The Community is
Good Place
funnier.
Yeah.
When it's at its funniest. And when Community has its best episodes, it's some of the best episodes of television. But I keep using the word infallible for The Good Place. They kind of almost can't get it wrong. Yeah.
When somebody tells me, oh, I don't really like Community that much, I'm like, I disagree, but I can see. If someone's like, I don't love The Office, I get it. When someone tells me they didn't like The Good Place, I think they're just fundamentally dumb because.
Or I think, did you get to the end of season 1 first?
Yeah, because it's a great show. It's near perfect, and it's just hard to touch. And I want to thank you, Zach, because we wouldn't do this thing if it weren't for you, and I appreciate that. And getting to spend time with you is, I don't miss the state of Indiana whatsoever, but I do miss some of the people there, and you're one of the people that I miss the most, buddy. So.
Well, I mean, doing this with you, we could place ourselves anywhere.
Yeah.
And we could be anywhere. We could strap on a microphone and a camera, and I get taken back to that headspace just by, I don't know. This is weird. If we're going to get deep podcast ending, we're going to wrap it up. There's something, I'm not a spiritual person. There is something spiritual to me about the space that we enter together doing this podcast when we are not together. I feel like so connected with you. I feel so closed off with what else is going on around me. And I feel like we create this safe haven. And I really like that.
It's a time knife.
It is. Perfect. Steven, start getting us out of here then. Where else can the people find us? Where can the people vote for our next podcast? Start talking about all that.
Okay, you got it. You guys got to vote. Get out there and vote. If for the voting needs, go to our YouTube, go to the Facebook, go to YouTube. Can't Disappoint a Pod.
You say YouTube, Twitter.
Go to You Can't Disappoint Pod on X. Go to Can't Disappoint Podcast on Instagram.
On Thursday.
Vote on Thursday, whatever day.
You can vote until Thursday, all of those places, but Instagram will be a special vote on Thursday. Regardless,
so please go vote all the places. Vote on each platform. We can't fucking check. Just vote as many times as you want.
Since we have all these podcasts, I have 4 or 5 Twitter accounts. If you have a bunch of burner accounts, I don't care. We want people to vote. And
just vote.
Whatever you pick wins. Just fucking vote.
Yeah, just fucking do it. If you want to stay up to date with this show in particular, make sure that you follow us over on Twitter and Instagram over at Time Knife Pod. Check out the video companion to this podcast. See how cute little Zach's face is. Check out the pre-show. Check out the Patreon. Get all up in there.
I've been whitening my teeth. Do they look better?
Your top teeth look especially white. Those look great. Are you using the charcoal-based stuff or the purple?
No, I'm using...
Or the strips? Don't use white strips.
No, I haven't used strips or the LED or anything yet. I've just been using whitening toothpaste every day, and I noticed a difference.
Nice.
Yeah, guys, it's also a good transition into Patreon. Into the Time Knife is
outside.
All right. I wasn't
just for the people who are wondering.
Wasn't in the middle of kind of fucking ouch, when you're.
The people want to fucking know that it's storming, Zach. They're curious about these things.
Into the Time Knife. We'll be back the next 2 Mondays. We'll be back next week to talk about the final half of the final episode of The Good Place. And we'll be back the week after to take this... I'm borrowing this term from the Hop-Ons podcast who just ended their run. We're going to take this girl out back.
Nice.
After the second Monday, we're going to take this girl out back and put it out of its misery. But for the next 2 Mondays, please join us here to finish up talking about The Good Place. And past that, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast is the best place. You can get a bunch of content to keep you in the loop as we're between podcasts and to gorge on in between podcasts.
Yeah.
You can support this show. You can get a say in what we do here. You can hang out with us on the pre-show. All of that is going to keep you going and keep us going, honestly, in the, month, two, whatever, between the two podcasts as we're getting ready for the next one. In the basement, our That 70s Show Rewatch podcast will begin its second season in July. So there's never not some Zach and Steven to snack on. Patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, just $5 a month. You can support these little businesses as we take that money and give it directly to the Church of Scientology.
Heyo!
I gotta get my Thetan. I gotta fix my Thetan, guys.
Cthulhu.
I need more patrons so I can afford to go up the bridge of enlightenment.
Yeah, Zach's trying to get up that bridge.
Yeah. Well, Steven, I think that's it. I've loved this time with you. We almost went 2.5 hours. Let's finish it. Tell the people where they can find us. Well, no, you did that already.
Zach,
get us out of here. That's what I meant to say. Brain broken.
From inside
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm going to cut you off. We have so much fun during the podcast. I think people at this point can probably feel the desperation we both have to get to the end when we get to the end, and how... I mean, me, but also how we work against each other by butting in to get to that goal.
And because we both want it to be done.
Yeah.
But we won't let it happen.
I love doing the show. I love being with you. It gets hot in here. I want to move on with my life. So please,
I got a starving child banging at my door. Back. Yeah, scratching. From inside the time knife. Black Lives Matter.
I am Zach.
I'm Steven.
We're so grateful for you. We're thankful for you. You make our place a little gooder. I should have quit while I was ahead. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Monday and live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, it's what you do to me. Just believe me.